Like they taught you at Juilliard. Let's go. Did you do the pull-ups yet?
Hell no.
Get it all vascular.
See what you see.
Nah.
It's what
I
you
should.
It's what you
One's right out there.
But,
What
you
you
know, let me
see.
get some.
What you see. It's what you get. It's what you get. I said what you see. It's what you get. It's what you get. And me is the best thing yet. The best thing yet. Chuck.
Oh, you want me to run the intro again?
I'm not. Are we live? We're doing it. It's good.
Do it. It's real. It's fucking sound.
We're
It's
always
very
rolling
in
it.
me kind of fashion.
Just a couple of pull-ups. Let's get
Yeah,
the juices
just get the juices
flowing.
going. I'm fucking rocking some good vibes.
We're full of pizza
fucking
and
energy.
donuts,
Yeah,
coffee,
yeah. Life's good.
all the fucking things. Vascularity on point.
God damn, dude. Just from some pull-ups out there.
Yeah, exactly, man.
The fuck? Where'd those come from?
It happens sometimes. You do this one? I saw this on the fucking Instagram. You fucking pinch it off up here.
Oh shit.
And it's like,
Fuck, dude.
It's a Vandy Triumphant bastard.
Yeah, dude. Force a varicose out.
Right on. Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Come back. I'm not having a stroke. We smell toast?
No,
I smelled toast the other time. All right, back to reality. Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? Joey C in the place to be. I got a big boom box and a new CD coming at you live from the GFY Studios with the AO Show, authentic only. Here today with my man, Shabagalik.
Hello.
Charlie doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Charlie. I think I'm still calling you Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie, back where I come from, everybody says Charlie. Hey, Charlie.
I don't
Get that at
mind
all?
No.
No?
I get Chuck a lot, which I'm not.
Chuck?
Not a big fan of Chuck.
no, I wouldn't be either.
If you need the
Like, what
bread,
did you just call me?
There's a car coming. Look out, Chuck. Charles, look out. Chuck, get the fuck out of the way.
You can just say, "Look out."
Look out. That could be anybody, though. You got to be specific.
You're right.
You know,
Yeah,
emergency
you could have
situation.
your AirPods in.
Exactly.
No, he's got his AirPods.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
I worked at a bowling alley, and I met the maintenance guy who worked on the machines. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Charlie." He's like, "Charlie, your pin says Charles." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my official name, you know." But Charlie's. He's like, "Oh, I'll call you Chuck because that's my father-in-law's name." And I'm like, "No, that's not. I'm not your father-in-law.
This is how this works.
How about he's Chuck and I'm Charlie?" Chuck, no. I just don't like when people assume, you know? When they assume they can call you that. I'm like, no. You can ask me my name. That's fine.
I could dig it. Do you have a preference, Charlie? Charlie is what
I'm
it is,
pretty
right?
used to Charlie now.
I don't know. I might try and wax into Charlie,
That's
which is Charlie, but it's just Charlie.
That's fine.
I knew a guy, he couldn't remember people's names, so all ladies, he called him Dolly, and dudes, he called him Charlie. I was like, Charlie.
All right.
I like that.
All right.
That's good. You're on the money all the time. Back then.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Anyway. What's new with you? You been doing good stuff? Did we talk about this already? Oh, the concert. Oh,
Yeah. Tried to go to
see the previous episode about the concert debacle.
yeah. The Erica
Oh, it was-
Badu.
I don't know if it was the debacle, but
Yeah, I mean, they said the tickets are still good. She's coming back in a week, so like maybe it's fine.
maybe she's going to bring all her homies. Who was opening? Do you know?
DJ OG1 and some other person.
Yeah, maybe this time she comes back with Wu-Tang Clan or something like that.
That'd be cool.
Or like the Roots,
I would love the Roots.
or like the whole Soulquarian.
I see.
Tribe.
I don't think that's gonna happen, but that would be That would be the best outcome.
That would be nice.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I could dig it. It could be an upgrade. You never know.
I'll take it.
We'll figure it out. Cool. And today's guest, all the way from bright, sunny Ridgefield-ish.
Yeah.
Right on. Aaron
like
Pecor, thanks for coming in, man.
Hi, thank you. Appreciate you having me on here.
Likewise.
I've never done a podcast before.
Us neither.
I don't watch podcasts either, so I
Who
don't really
does?
know
Who's got time for
exactly
that shit?
how this goes. But I thought it was a really cool idea, and I love you, Charlie. So.
You're doing great
And
already.
Joey, you're fucking cool too.
Well, thank you.
Rep my shit from like the early days, so
Man,
super super into doing this, man.
we can do it. This is what we're gonna do. It's what we
We
got
do like
scheduled, at
bullshit.
least. I mean,
Just talk about crazy shit.
there's been some what was it referred to? Schizo.
Oh, yeah.
Schizo shit.
We got a little schizo.
Perfect.
Slightly more schizo, less schizo.
Perfect.
We'll go
For
sometimes.
Tony, certainly you are highly regarded, sir.
Yeah, that guy was here, and he was like, "We're not going to be as schizo as last time." And about 5 minutes into it, there was a caveat, maybe more schizo than last time. So, anyway,
I can dig that. I'm feeling a little schizo myself.
Yeah?
So. You got the best version of me right now. I'm like high, like got that after bake high. Come like hung out with another baker, and then I've been like awake for 24 hours. So the juices are flowing.
yeah,
To just get into it, man.
beep, boop, beep, boop, entering flow state. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all full of pizza and donuts and
Fucking
pull-ups and caffeine. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. So I don't want to get in the habit of summarizing people. So if you can, tell the people who you are and what it is you do, please.
Right. I know about this part from watching
prepare for this.
podcasts, and I was trying to prepare for this, but I don't really have a solid answer for you. My name's Aaron. I run Lake River Baking, so it's just a small artisan baking project out of Bunny's Pizza in Richfield, Washington. I just want to make things. I'm a human flowing in this particular state and time in the universe, and I just want to do the best that I can for people and the world around me as much as possible, with the weird ways that I can maybe do it, because I'm not a grandeur person. Like, I'm not gonna go start like a nonprofit or anything, but I really like baking, so I'm like, all right, let's just feed people. But I come from like an artist background, so there's a lot of that mentality with what I do. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about you? Like, how would you summarize yourself?
I don't know if I would.
No? Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't really think there's a good way to like summarize oneself, because like you're gonna fall into the trap of like ego, right? And if you're
It's a
somebody
trap, yeah.
like myself, at least, that tries not to like play into their self ego too much, it's difficult to like describe yourself, because really I'm just like here now in this moment. That's me inherently, and like everything else is just like us talking about it and creating like interpretations that have like tons of nuance around it. So yeah, even if I like tried to summarize it, simply, like there's a lot more to it always, just like you, just like Charlie, or any other person like listening to this right now. I think it does a disservice to you as a person when you like try to like summarize yourself, like when people like are like I dislike this type of music or something, for instance, and then that slightly like they personify with that. I try to like stem away from those. It's like a very natural human thing to do, but I like personally try to like stem away from that kind of stuff with myself. So whereas like somebody will hear a piece of music, go, this isn't for me, and then like move on, I'll try to like listen to it again and again and again. And what I find pretty much every time, not just with like music, but like different art and movies, any media, people even, the more exposure I get to it, I generally end up liking it in some capacity, or being able to like tolerate it past something that's just like, I don't like this, or even those things that the opposite works too, where it's like, oh, I really like this thing, keep having it a bunch, like it's gonna fall off and kind of not be that like special thing that I love anymore. It's just that particular time and space it was, and you're like changing and moving and creating more and more nuance as like time goes on. So yeah, I know a really kind of broad thing. Because like I said, I was like trying to think about how to like say this, and but I'm bad at like conceptualizing it.
I'm just going to distill it down in a couple words.
Yeah. Distill it, please.
The word you use that I'm going to glom onto a little
Yeah.
bit is tolerance.
Yeah.
You know, you said you don't like this, so then you keep leaning into it,
Yeah.
and it can produce tolerance.
Yeah.
So perhaps, maybe this is conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance, meaning unknowing,
Yeah.
along with knowledge and exposure to this thing that you're ignorant of,
Yeah. Yeah.
can produce tolerance.
Absolutely.
Go
Absolutely.
fucking figure.
No, I
Well
yeah,
said.
I genuinely believe that on pretty much everything.
I take that as a basic truism as well. I don't like broccoli. Have you had a lot of broccoli? I've had a lot of broccoli done this way. Have you had it done any of these other ways? No. Well, when you mix it with chili, garlic, and lemon, it's fucking delicious.
Right.
I have this new knowledge. Now I can tolerate broccoli.
Right.
Nay, I even like it done like that.
Definitely.
I think we just cured cancer. Look at that. Put a patent
Solving
on.
huge issues here.
Brussels
I mean,
sprouts.
in the first 5 minutes. Yeah.
So many people hate Brussels sprouts. They've only ever had boiled Brussels sprouts. I'm like, do it any other way.
Yeah.
Pan
Yeah.
fry that. Bake it.
Yeah.
Something else.
Put it on a
Definitely.
pizza.
I definitely like tolerance. It's getting at the right idea, but I fear that tolerance might. I don't know. This just might be my view on like the word tolerance, I guess. But like tolerance, I still feel like has the connotation that you're like you still dislike it, but you're like just dealing with it, sort of thing. I try to get a level that's even just like letting go of that first part of it,
Yes.
where it's like whether I like it or not, that doesn't fucking change the outcome of like what broccoli is inherently of itself. My opinion on it doesn't change the broccoli. It just still is. It might change how I like perceive it and how I interact with it and interface with it in this universe, but ultimately it is not, defined necessarily by like my opinions on it. So why the fuck should I walk around my life doing that with everything around me? Again, it's a natural human thing to do. It's how we create hierarchies and stuff in our brains, and threats, and figure out what things are threats and not and stuff. But I think it's important to have tolerance for anything and everything: pain, suffering, happiness, joy, all of it. Like, feel what it is, but don't get like lost in it as much as possible.
It's easy to get lost in any of those things. Pain or
Definitely.
suffering or the opposite of that. Like you're fucking happy all the time. You are insufferable. I can't take you. You're so fucking happy.
Yeah.
Go stub your toe or something and don't laugh about it. Yeah.
Right.
Well said. I like that.
Yeah.
That's something I probably said on this, more than once. You can go for the upper decker.
I do. At $3 million, dude.
Baby batch.
Winter
It's all right.
green.
I mean, if you need to, wintergreen's one of the good flavors.
It is.
Cinnamon and wintergreen are the ones that don't have any synthetic coolants in them.
Really?
What's his name? Benjamin Katz?
Yeah.
Mass spec operator on the Instagram. He takes things like Taco Bell meat or whatever it is and Mountain Dew red, and he puts them through a mass spectrometer. And breaks out all the fucking things.
Hell yeah.
People are like, do Zins, do Zins, do Zins. So we did a fucking bunch of them. And I think the unflavored ones, like smooth and whatever, like unflavored, didn't have anything in them. But a lot of them had synthetic coolants in them. They make them last longer
Yeah.
flavor and stuff like that. But wintergreen didn't, and cinnamon was the other one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any ones that were ones where you might have not expected it to be in there, but it was in there?
Lemon.
Lemon. I was about
Yeah.
to ask, was it in lemon? Yeah,
Yeah.
that totally checks out. That's citrus.
Yeah. It had a bunch of like natural flavors in it, but there was just like, oh, what's this one? It's like, oh, there's a big spike here. Let's zoom in on it. Oh, it's
Yeah.
3.597. It's like, oh, there's a synthetic coolant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's not like a minty type thing, but it's got that thing to make it last longer.
Right.
The lemon doesn't suck either. I've had it once.
No, I like the lemon.
Yeah.
The only one I legitimately don't like is the smooth. Just because it's like flavorless, and I have this weird thing where I'm like, if I'm spending the same amount of money on a flavored one versus a flavorless one, I'm gonna buy the flavored one because I'm getting more bang for my buck in a sense. Because I want to taste something at least.
Right
Like,
on.
would you chew flavorless gum? I guess you could.
We could. I mean, before
But
there was
I've seen it.
Hubba Bubba. I mean, there was people
I might
chewing
not have
gum.
as much tolerance for you if you
Good
if you do.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you seen that there's there's like these nootropic pouches that have
Continue.
like focus, like mental focus ones. I can't think of any of the names of them right now. I've had some friends give me some. Obviously there's like ones with caffeine. What are these?
Neurogum.
Neurogum?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If you want one.
Is this gonna make me shorter? Is this gonna flowers for Algernon me?
All right, your deep literary references are going over the head of certain ignorant people. Please have some tolerance.
That's not a crazy one. I don't think you didn't read flowers
You
for
want Neuro?
Algernon.
We got 2 Neurogums left.
No.
I didn't read that in kid.
Come on, you can't just leave one.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it was in my like 8th grade like English textbook.
Yeah.
It's
Eighth grade.
Wow.
Can you pick up all my chewing from here? God, that's gonna be annoying.
Yeah, we can hear it. It's fine. We're all chewing.
I'm listening to the audiobook for Infinite Jest right now.
What a segue.
Yeah, well, we were talking about literature. And I'm just trying to go through the pain of it. It's hilarious because it's like 8-hour long sections.
Oh, that's a deep.
It's a huge book. It's like
Oh.
1,000, over 1,000 page book or something like that.
That's an investment, right?
Yeah, I ain't reading that shit for sure. No, it'd take me way too long.
Apparently they don't make it anymore, but there was a nihilist gum, and it was a flavorless gum.
Damn.
Well, you got to produce your nihilist membership card to get some. For the
That's very Infinite Jest. Like, nihilist gum. This is flavorless gum. Perfect.
Why do you do the nicotine pouches?
I've been had a debilitating addiction to nicotine since I was 18.
Debilitating?
Yeah, absolutely debilitating. Like anxiety and all that good
You
shit.
smoke cigs and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You still do? Would you transfer over to?
No, I can't afford it, man. It's super expensive. I moved over to the Zins because they were cheap, and then now they're fucking like $3 more expensive than they were. Like I was buying packs for like $4.99 or $3.99 originally, and I was like, holy shit, this is like a third of a pack of cigarettes for me at least because I smoked American Spirit Blacks, which are like like $15 fucking now.
Sounds
Not including the lighter, because I quit every like couple months and then have another pack. So then I got to buy the lighter. So that's like $2.5 extra. So I'm looking at like $20 bill just to like have some smokes. And so I was like, fuck it. The Zyn pouches were pretty nice. I had like a pre-experience with, because these are called snus, right? The pouch situation. Like, because they had these before it was synthetic nicotine. It was like tobacco in a pouch, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because I say it's snus, but I also think of the shit that tobacco used to snort too, like Camel used to make. I can't remember. I think that was snuff. Pouches
Snuff,
are
yes.
snus. So when Swedish General Snus came over to the States, like companies will, when they go across like fucking borders and shit, they do product studies and stuff. So when I was younger, I used to do paid product studies and like research studies to like
wow.
make ends meet sometimes. And that was one of them. I'd never heard of snus before. I go in with a bunch of other people, and it's like a 3-hour fucking, basically like propaganda fucking type vibe. Like they're sitting like 8 of us down in like, school chairs, and we watch a presentation on like snus, and then they give us all multiple packs of it and have us try it, and are like, what did you think of it? Did you really like this? And to me, it more so felt like they're selling us the product than it was actually trying to get any info out of it. But that shit like burned crazy, and I hated it. But because I had multiple packs, I went back to it once in a while. So when Zyn came around, it was like, okay, this is kind of a similar thing. It just doesn't like hit like the burn as hard in your lips. But yeah, I did the vaping for a long time. Used to work at a head shop. I worked in the green industry for a long time. So like do vapes. Probably spent hundreds of fucking dollars on like fucking those buildable coil things and shit, and when those were hot. Most forms of nicotine other than chew, which is funny because I do the wintergreens and I've never liked chew, wintergreen, or anything.
Right on.
So I got that going for me, I guess. It didn't fuck up my
Yeah.
gums, just my lungs.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you're on the mend with the.
I'm gonna be real. This
The-
gum
the
tastes
lip-
like shit.
Yeah, it's fucking
I'm sorry.
super sweet and fucking terrible. Yeah, you can put it right in the ashtray.
Oh, okay.
Just don't put it on the jointa. Or you get a little fucking thing later. Yeah, it's fucking got stevia or something in it. It's super fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moving on to the lip pillows instead of the fucking smokables. It's probably a better delivery method. I was doing a fair amount of research recently on nicotine and its effect on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and stuff that came up with that was myocarditis as well.
Yeah.
And then, probably because I'm looking at it, I'm getting all this stuff in my Instagram feed. And it turns out, maybe, I don't know if it's still theoretical, but nicotine and its effect on viruses, plural, as in all viruses, is it kind of fucking just does good work on all viruses. Like
killing it?
chicken pox,
Like working against
mumps, measles, herpes, the HIV, all of them. And I was like, the flu, I was like, huh. So I've been poking around a little bit. When you pull up nicotine and virus, the first like 30 fucking things are just about the COVID, right?
Yeah.
But which one did you get here? Scientific reports. Oh, that's very scientific.
It says it in the fucking title.
Exactly. It's gotta be
I gotta
scientific.
trust it.
Nicotine exposure decreases likelihood of blah, 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 RNA expression and all these things. Mouse brain, but not, yeah. So mouse brains. So, yeah, if you put in fucking nicotine and viruses, it's all about the fucking COVID and for it, against it, maybe not this. And then going deeper into it about the other viruses, it's a little more interesting on its effectiveness. Human Garage is another cool Instagram thing. It's a website as well. He just put out something on nicotine and about its anti-inflammatory effects and everything like that, which is fucking bananas too, because if you go to a Western medicine doctor, you go to your Peace Health or your fucking Kaiser or something like that, and you're like, my joints hurt. Oh, you have arthritis, or you got RA, you got rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
First thing they're going to give you is a corticosteroid, maybe orally, maybe some injections. And what they're going to tell you is, and then don't eat foods in the nightshade family because that can cause inflammation.
Damn.
Is that 100% false? Maybe not. It can have inflammatory effects on some people, especially if you got allergies and all that stuff. The number one plant with nicotine in it is tobacco, right? You know what the next three are?
No, I have no idea.
Nightshades.
Oh, really? Oh, isn't
Eggplant?
tobacco like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tobacco is number one. Eggplant, tomatoes, and white potatoes are the other ones that are highest in fucking nicotine. And those are the ones that, so they'll give you this fucking medicine because they can make money off you because it's an anti-inflammatory.
Right,
and they tell
right.
you to stay away from the ones that could have the most anti-inflammatory effect naturally because of, science.
Right.
I don't know, you make it add it up or don't. I don't know. It's fucking weird. But yeah, nicotine as a nootropic, whatever that word fucking means. I'm
Yeah,
not
I know,
super
right?
sold
It's
on
such
it.
a
But
fucking umbrella
a
term.
neuroprotectant,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the studies on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's is like, hey, yeah, not through cigs because they got all kinds of other things in them like burn accelerants, but nicotine itself, plenty of fucking great books have been written on coffee and cigarettes, right?
Right,
The whole
right.
fucking movie about it. But yeah, as a neuroprotectant, nicotine, top shelf fucking stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. I mean, anything that's like... There's so many fucking things that have positives and negatives to them. Again, this gets back to kind of like what I was talking about before with like,
Exactly.
I'm placing myself into this fucking side or this fucking side. As a nicotine user, you hear people all the time. It's like, it's fucking bad for you. Yeah, I fucking know. So is alcohol. So is all these other things. What's funny, you're talking about that. My wife, she's a nurse, and she's telling me that she knew this doctor that would like smoke one cigarette a week. I think she was saying he said it, basically just created a negative environment for the body to like start, wanting to heal. So it was just like kickstarting things like that. Or yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that really doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I mean, yeah, it has to have some kind of positive, cool thing about it, other than just making me feel like a badass.
Yeah.
I got a cig between my lips.
Exactly. Leaning on your fucking motorcycle with a
dude.
fucking tank top. And
Leaning over on somebody else's motorcycle at the bar.
even that. Yeah. It's like, you can lean on my motorcycle. You're smoking a butt. Flat.
Do you smoke tobacco?
No.
No?
I smoke for like, I get rid of this fucking gum too.
Yeah.
I smoke for
I do feel smarter already though.
Yeah, see? Science.
Yeah.
Well, hey, caffeine's a neurotropic.
Yeah, I smoked for like 10 years probably.
Stogs?
I smoked Black and Milds.
Black and mild.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah,
It's like you're inhaling them?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah, so my parents were smokers,
Yeah.
and everybody came over our house were smokers and everything like that. Never liked cigarettes or the smell of it or anything like
Yeah.
that. And then started working in a steel processing facility as a young man. I was like 18, 19 years old, and young black men and whatnot. That's what they smoked, Black and Milds, and it was like not ritualistic, but everybody would smoke.
Yeah, you're feeling it.
Yeah, and I was like,
yeah.
it smells good. I was like, yeah, let me get one. Boom. I was like,
Always
all right.
like that.
So, and that's what I would smoke. I didn't smoke a lot. After that, I went on to be a cook, and I would never smoke at work. I would have one or like half of one on the way to work and smoke the rest on the way
It's a
home.
beautiful trait to have as a cook.
Yeah, I mean, that came to be a thing too, It's like, hey, before service, we're going out for a smoke break. Well, I don't fucking smoke, so what do I do? Like,
You work,
polish
dude.
my station or something?
Yeah, you get to
It's like,
chill
I
and
wanna
work.
go out too, So, it was a weird thing.
Yeah.
How the industry has changed. That not does anybody not even smoke in my shop, but nobody even fucking drinks anymore. So
Yeah.
it's a different animal. But yeah, I smoked for about 10 years, and then I got my first executive chef type job, and just quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna have fucking time to do this, and
Yeah.
I don't even want to anymore.
That's dope.
And it was like a couple years later, I was like, let me try one, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need that anymore. I have smoked a couple, like good cigars recently too. And I was like, man, I'm going to fucking choke on this. Nope.
Yeah.
Fucking totally good.
Hell yeah.
Like an hour-long fucking cigar. And, yeah. So, yeah, I smoked for a little bit. It's one of those things. I think everybody should smoke, but then quit.
Yeah, no.
Prove to yourself you could do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It is, it's definitely, yeah, test the willpower, man.
Yeah, it is a
Done
thing.
a lot of substances in my life, and nicotine's the worst one to me. Like to get off of, I should say.
To get off of, yeah. Have you ever tried, like, ardently to...
Tons
to do
of
it?
times. Tons
Really?
of times. Yeah, I have such a hard time with it. I also have like an oral fixation, so it's just like, if I'm not doing that, I'm also like fucking, a cook too and baker myself. So if
Yeah.
I'm not like putting a cigarette in my mouth, I'm putting like food in my mouth or some shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then just like the feelings of nicotine withdrawal suck bad. I've gotten to where I haven't had it in a while, but there's always something where I just like come back to it every single time. And I love it. I think that's a problem. I just love it so much. It's very, very postmodern of me. Like, yeah, I know this thing's straight killing me. It like makes me anxious as shit, but like I still choose to do it over and over and over again.
It's a choice.
And then find better ways to like, and take it like with the pouches and stuff. Ultimately, like, I could say fuck it to all like the health benefits or health negatives of like coughing from cigarettes or like fucking dry mouth and shit from pouches or whatever, but it's like, yeah, like not having it, like that itch to fucking have it again is like worse than even those fucking things. Because it's just fucking annoying sometimes. It's like,
It can be, yeah.
yeah, I don't have fucking nicotine on me. I have to go run to the store now to go get this. Otherwise, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to be a cranky bitch to people around me, essentially. I'm just going to be bitchy. I'm not even going to be like, I'm just going to be mean for no fucking reason other than I'm cranky. And it's like, that's not fucking cool to do.
Interesting.
But yeah, like I said, I've just smoked so long, and yeah, I think I'm like always pretending like I'm it's getting better or something, like where it was like, oh, switch pouches, started with 6s and now it's 3s, and it's like I'm still using nicotine like all day, but it's just like, yeah, it's like, no, this version's like better. And I'm not like the only person who does this. Like tons of fucking people do. This is why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yeah, it's like if you want to fucking quit, just quit, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking justifying it and shit.
Yeah.
But I fucking love nicotine at the
Right
same
on.
time. I love that little stimulation effect of just chilling, or like when you're working on something, just popping it, and just like, oh yeah, just a little bit of that nootropic coming into play.
Right on. I mean, your boy, what's his name? RFK Jr. And did the old
You know that guy's crushing
confirmation
darts.
confirmation hearing. You know, slipped one in real quick. Allegedly, you don't know, but yeah,
He was just doing the nootropic ones. No, no nicotine.
might took a quick bump real quick. Whatever
Yeah.
he's got to do.
Just relax, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way to chill out.
Take it easy.
Say what you want about Lawrence O'Donnell, but he did a thing about RFK. He's like, everybody's talking about RFK. He's a smart guy. I'm sorry, I went to school with the guy. He was asleep in class every day because he was doing heroin all night. So, like,
Hell yeah.
Heroin?
that's what he said.
He was on a horse?
I guess so.
Look at that. And now he's not, maybe?
Yeah, hope so.
He's come a long way. He's off the horse. He's on the fucking lip pillows. And we're all,
RFK's on the lip pillows?
yeah.
Really?
You can pull up that clip at his confirmation hearing.
I don't pay attention to like
You won't like
anything.
that?
I don't pay attention to anything.
It just came up in my thing.
He be dipping. I love this.
Allegedly, he slipped one in.
Allegedly.
There it is.
Oh hell yeah!
Watch this move. Here he comes.
had to respond. And it's actually the Gates Foundation.
He might have one
could-
in now. He's moving
yeah.
out. There it goes.
Oh yep.
Oh, he's pulling it out now.
That we had an outbreak of COVID.
Yeah, it looks like he was pulling one out.
Yeah.
Instead of putting it in.
I think he. This is
Oh,
where he
we
puts
getting
in.
another
There
one?
it is.
Yeah, here we go, baby.
Zoinkies.
To me, I know.
Definitely. There's no. What the fuck else is he doing other than popping a pill? He's not
Right?
popping a pill like that either. He's like shoving it into his lip with his
The
tongue.
problem is.
This is so dope that this is news.
Right? He's definitely pulling one out.
He's dipping on his confirmation.
Health and Human Services guy.
Groundbreaking stem cell research.
Doinkies.
Fuck, dude.
To me,
I love this cyberpunk future. we're
Bananas,
living in.
right?
It's so cool.
Shout out Maria Cantwell there too. That's one of Washington's senators.
Hell yes.
Way to go.
Oh, she was talking?
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything she was saying. I'm
No,
sorry. I
that's
was watching.
fine. I just
Was she saying anything good?
no talk about stem cell research. I don't know.
Perfect.
Stem cell research? Is he for or
I
nay?
have no idea.
Nobody knows because he's popping zins.
I was just saying she was in the clip, and we're in Washington. I was just shouting her out. Maybe she'll be on the podcast.
Yes, she'll come on next week and
Yeah.
talk about. Hey, remember that time RFK was popping zins? When we talked to him? Yes,
2 hours of
everybody
that.
has
That's it.
That's beautiful. I can dig it. I can dig it, man.
Fuck it all up, dude.
Right on. Yeah, so nicotine is what it is.
Yeah. Awesome conversation about my nicotine addiction here.
I mean, you called it addiction. I'm
yeah.
just saying.
No, I mean, that's
it may
what
not
it is.
be
dude.
as bad in certain formats as some people say.
Yeah.
I mean, tobacco is one of the 4 sacred plants, right? From
Sure.
Native Americans, what do you call them now? First peoples? I don't know. People that were here before everybody else.
Indigenous people.
Indigenous people, indigenous to Americas. So tobacco, sage, white sage, I think it is, right?
Sage, yeah.
Sweetgrass, and cedar
That's right.
are the 4 plants, 4 sacred plants. So tobacco has been used, in all kinds of ceremonies all around the world for the longest time.
Yeah.
It'll get you high, or cleanse your body of evil spirits.
They got marijuana and we got tobacco.
Who they?
Well, the new world, whatever. I know it's probably not a proper term, but yeah.
You're in a safe space. That's
Yeah,
all right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I kind of figured I was in a cool spot.
Also a cool spot. That sounded like Jeff Goldblum. That was beautiful.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Cool spot.
Yeah, no, because, like, we brought, like, weed over there, right? over to America.
I mean,
Or
you're
not
putting us
we.
all
I
in
guess
a
it's
boat.
not fucking we. I'm a
We.
white
I
guy,
was
so
like,
I'm
we
saying like
who?
Europeans, but like fucking, yeah, like the old world to the new world, the fucking exchange. Talk about it a lot with like baking actually, because like before the fucking exchange of like the new world and the old world, like confectionery and shit wasn't like that huge of a thing. Like your chocolate and stuff and like cinnamon and things that we expect in like cookies and fucking cakes and all this shit. All of that is like a direct like result of imperialism, which is
Nice.
sorry, I'm kicking shit, which is not funny but ironic, because everybody likes that shit and nobody fucking cares or thinks about that. But it's like, yeah, let me get my sweetie treats. That's another cool addiction is sugar.
That's
That
a
we don't
tough one
talk
to kick right
about.
there.
Yeah, food and sugar.
You ever try and kick sugar?
Not really, dude. I mean, look at me. No, I have not tried kicking sugar before, but that would be a cool one to try.
It's tough.
I bet.
So when I did a,
I mean, so do you mean like
sugar-
just like added like granulated sugar and shit, or
No, like
or just like carbs,
all
like
sugar.
sugars type
Everything.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I went strict carnivore diet, I was only eating grass-fed beef, grass-fed butter, honey, salt, whatever that one is. There's
Yeah.
5 things I was eating, and that was it. And I did it for a month.
Just eating like a pit bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have dreams of eating pastries
Fuck, dude.
and just be like, wake up and have my pillow in a fucking grip and be like, and then be dreaming of like holding a giant cupcake and just be like, all into it. Like
Hell yes.
that sugar had a fucking grip
Yeah.
on me, man.
Yeah.
It was in my dreams, like craving that shit. When you got past it, it was like, it's good.
Yeah.
And, you know, crave now. I eat that fucking stevia gum. It's like, it's fucking absurdly sweet. You know, drinking a soda, it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
So yeah, the sugar one's tough. But once you get away from it, it's like,
Right.
just like the cigarettes too. As you go back to it, it's like, fuck,
Yeah.
that was aggressive. How did I even do that?
I wouldn't say I'm like overt with the sugar. Try to be mindful of it with just being a baker and
Yeah.
fucking eating bread all the goddamn time. It's like such a staple of my diet and my family's diet. For I have it all the time.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations, you're blessed.
yeah, I feel pretty blessed
Yeah.
having a family and making bread. It's honestly, no offense to anyone, but I feel like I have way fucking cooler life than you guys. Not you guys, but anybody who's listening potentially. You guys probably have cooler lives than me, but
It's
you're running this
subjective.
podcast, and that's pretty dope. I could never do anything like this.
And we just did have a bunch of bread too, with
true.
cheese and sauce on it too.
True.
So we're blessed as well.
Stuffed.
Yeah, man, it was good.
Yeah, that was great, man. I really appreciate that. I love wood-fired ovens. They get me rock hard.
It's there, like I said.
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, whatever. Let me know. I'll spread the coals. It'll be a little more even.
Yeah.
Throw a couple fucking loaves in there. Get some hearth bacon on.
Yeah, that would be
a different
really
animal.
cool and special to try out. I've fucked around with wood-fired like once. I went up to, I was telling Charlie about it. I went up to the granary in Chimicum and hung out with their bakers and saw their milling process and stuff.
Nice.
And got to work on my first wood-fired oven, and that was like really like spiritual in a way. It was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's just a different animal. It's so analog, and I believe in like some. I don't know if you guys ever feel this with like being cooks and stuff, but I feel like sometimes I try to like tap into my professional ancestors, if you will, like all the bakers that like came before me, and in particular all the unknown bakers, all the bakers who like lived and died without any kind of like recognition or respect for what they did for their community, or the things that they put up with, or the health hazards that they had to do, because only up until recently did bakers have like relatively okay health. Especially in like big massive operations, just like lung problems. Baker's lung is a very real thing. Big equipment, fucking mixers and shit, like that shit just kills you. If something goes wrong, you're not just like cutting yourself. It's rare, but it does happen. I heard a story of a pastry chef who they wanted to stand mixers on like a table, and they like crip walk, as you know, when you have them on and you're not paying attention to them, and she like turned around while it was on, and it came off the table, landed on her. She can't walk anymore. Can't bake anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I'm not gonna say it's like crazy hazardous or anything. If you're not playing it dumb, you're gonna be okay, just like any profession. But just the all those people who came before us and set us up a little bit for success with our professions and the traditions that we follow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel any of that with like being how do you say it? Pizzaiolo?
Pizzaiola.
Pizzaiola. You can never pronounce words right.
Make pizza.
But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I do with the wood-fired, specifically all wood-fired, we were talking about gas assist ovens and that one being all wood-fired. With a pizza margarita or a marinara in a wood-fired oven,
Yeah.
I really can't strip it down any further
Yeah.
without having... I can't take anything out of that equation, wood-fired oven, margarita, or a marinara. I can't take anything out of that and still have it be whole. So it's that point, like, as a cook, sometimes you get to a point, it's like, oh, I need some of this, I need some of this, I need some of this.
Yeah.
But as you get to a different level of it, it's about what you can take away from it and still have it remain whole
Totally.
and be
Totally.
excellent. Like whether it be using less ingredients but using better ingredients, or just distilling it down to its essence, and that's how it's the best. So wood-fired 7 ingredients in a margarita, I can't take one of those things away and still have it be whole.
Totally.
So I think about that. I wouldn't say often, but it strikes
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and I've thought about it a lot, and then not so much anymore. But it still comes back, and just being like, this is complete as it is. It doesn't
Yeah.
need anything else, and I
I
can't take anything
love
else
that,
away
man.
from
Actually,
it.
that's a really fucking awesome way to put it. Especially like coming from the artisan. I fucking hate the term artisan. We're all artisans. Everybody who makes something is an artisan. Even you fucking electricians out there, everybody, if you make something, you're a fucking artist. Like this artisan shit is. I hate this label. But yeah, I guess as people who follow that artisan path of like sourdough, natch lev, baking, you see that trend with the ingredients too. Like, bread is ultimately flour, water, and salt, and you can make the argument for yeast, but I really only think that qualifies if you're actually adding like baker's yeast to it, or brewer's yeast, instant, whatever. Because if you're, counting the yeast in your levains, starter, whatever you want to call it, there's also bacteria in there, and there's yeast strains that you can't name out there, and those are actually kind of like individual things in themselves. So it's like, it just gets to this point where it's like, there's no fucking point in like classifying it. Ultimately, it's flour, water, and salt. And you could even take the salt out of there in a lot of breads
gonna
too.
get to that, yeah.
Sicilian bread in particular, I think, is one of the ones that they don't use salt in. Altamira bread, I don't think they use salt in, like the semolina bread. And so, ultimately just water, hydration, and flour. And so with a lot of artisan bakers, you're seeing the trend of like using particular flours that are more whole, because like our flours have been stripped from us and created new amalgamations of other flours that aren't the original thing. And this is like one of the reasons I have a hard time like communicating with people who aren't bakers on this level, because like you say like high gluten flour, for instance, and that doesn't really fucking tell me anything, to be honest with you, at all. And this is like really an American thing too, as I'm sure you're aware, with like European classifications of flour and how they label it, and the different ways that we can garner more information out of it, like ash content and extraction rates and all that good shit. But ultimately, despite even all of that, I think you still see with like a lot of artisan bakers like just using good whole grain flours in the bread itself. And bread products I am talking about here in particular, not necessarily like croissants or like pizza, but in bread. Because, like I shouldn't have to strip this fucking grain of all of its essence, of its germ, of its wheat, and taking all these nutrients and putting it into other things, and then also putting it back into a flour that I'm then gonna take and use to make bread with. It's like, why the fuck did I go through all these steps to do this? Let me just start from the essence of like what we had, like what you were talking back to, where it's like, yeah, I shouldn't have to fucking add eggs or butter or any of this fucking enrichment to make it a good product, because the seed, the grain of the wheat or the rye or whatever grain you're working with is gonna fucking speak for itself, and it's gonna speak way better than like anything you're gonna probably fucking do to it, unless you're going for, you know, like a kind of different product. Again, I'm talking about like bread in particular here. You know, croissants and that sort of thing kind of gets into a little bit of a different territory, but yeah, just keep it the soul of it. It's getting stripped of it with these different things that we do to our flours. So I do really appreciate people like Chimicum. Shout out Chimicum Granary. You guys are great. They're doing low extraction flours, and they're working with like WSU Bread Lab. Who's into developing new grains or new strains of wheat and such. We could go on and on about all this stuff without direction. But yeah. I love how you put that. That's great.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's what I believe and it's what I follow, and
Yeah.
here's what it is. Tassajara Bread Book.
Yeah.
You ever get behind that one?
Absolutely.
I get it first. Maybe it might be in a preface.
Wow.
He talks about, you know, when you strip things away from it, you know, bread is water and flour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he said, well, it came out this way this time because that's how it came out. Next time it'll come out differently because I'll do it differently. You know? That's how it's going to come out. The essay about everything getting care and attention in the kitchen.
Yeah. Awareness.
The awareness
Like
of it.
having as much awareness as possible, like while you're
Giving care to
functioning.
the sticky honey jar, the cracked tea kettle. You ever seen the documentary on him?
No.
Ed Brown, Edward S.B. Brown. It's not terrible. I think he starts crying at one point.
Yeah.
It's weird. But, you know, he's at the monastery and whatnot, and they're doing a walking meditation, and, you know, they're baking bread at one point, and it's not bad. And that's when people start baking, I'm like, you want to learn how to bake, go read the first chapters of the first Tartine bread book.
Yeah.
Get all that stuff down, boom, you're a baker.
Yeah, seriously.
You want to get into the soul of baking, go check out Tassajara bread. Because the
Exactly.
formulas in there, they are what they are, and they're old school and whatnot, but the way the guy talks about, you know, it's like Musashi talking about sword fighting, but he's really talking about philosophy of life. You know, Ed Brown kind of does the same thing. He's talking about bread, but he's talking about life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think
it's good.
for me, like that's when things become like, if you want to like classify stuff as like this artisan level, like artiste mentality behind things, I think that's when you definitely start getting into those kinds of levels of conversation on it. And usually you're a dedicated craft person already at that level to be kind of having that conversation, which is why it kind of speaks to that, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely. I get, it's funny you say that. I get that question all the time. How do I make bread? It's like, all right, well, you take some water and you take some flour and you mix it together and mix it till it just comes together and let it sit for a while. Then throw it in your oven.
Yep.
This is usually what I tell people. They're like, this can't be that simple. And it's like, well, it kind of fucking is that simple. It's also, yes, it is very complex, can be very complex. I shouldn't say that it is very complex. It can be very complex, but it doesn't need to be. It only becomes complex because you've been told on like Instagram and social media that it's very complex. I can't fucking stand the misinformation about bread and sourdough and all these things that are kind of like perpetrated on the internet just based on like influencers and people who want to make a buck off of the information that's readily available for free out there, and pretty easily accessible as well. It's not crazy hard to access. The problem is that, you know, people are on social media and they'd rather, you know, kind of follow these simple things rather than really kind of getting into something. If you really want to get into bread, you you probably aren't asking me how to bake a loaf of bread. You're probably going out and buying a book, you know. So when I get those questions, I'm not like trying to be a dick, but it's just like I don't really know how to answer that for you other than you know what I kind of just said, like fucking mix it together and throw it in the fucking oven and bake it, you know, and do that 100 times and you're gonna actually just figure it out. Is what's gonna happen. It doesn't have to be overthought. Everybody thinks it's science because of there's numbers involved, and the numbers being involved only are like important to somebody who does production baking. Ultimately, in my opinion, if you're a home baker, those fucking numbers shouldn't, for the most part, mean much to you. They should be guidelines, you know. But if you're off on your hydration by 5%, you're still gonna make a great loaf of bread. If you're off by 20%, you're still gonna make a great loaf of bread. If you're levain, that percentage, which also nobody knows how to fucking properly calculate pre-ferment in their doughs. When I say 20% of pre-fermented flour, it's not 20% starter in weight that I'm adding. You have to like calculate those different things. So even with that, where it's like people think that it's a science, so they get into this science-y mentality behind bread, and then again keep perpetrating wrong information to people about what we do, and then people like me who have to like sell it and actually are trying to make a living off of this by doing something actually like really auteur, if you will. It's like I have to like start by breaking down some of people's like misconceived notions about what sourdough is and what bread is. One of the biggest ones that I fucking hear that bothers me in particular is that sourdough has less gluten in it, or people with celiac can have sourdough bread because of this. And this is ultimately very dangerous information. Mind you, I feel like most people who actually have celiac aren't going to, actually fall into that and then actually legitimately think that, you know, they can eat sourdough and stuff. But again, it's just misinformation that I don't see a lot of people correcting because of the proliferation of, especially after like COVID and everybody getting into sourdough, everybody fucking thinks they know everything. And you hear that classic thing of bread science and cooking is art and feel, and they're both that. They're both that. It depends on what you're doing with it. Every profession has to use, and again, if you're doing it at a profession level, most people talking about things in these ways are like hobbyists, you know, like home cooks, home bakers, which is great. That's fine. But a professional is a different level of that understanding, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, it kind of bothers me on some of that stuff, but it's just how it is, I guess. Try not to be too bitchy about it. It's like my shit'll just kind of like speak for itself. But yeah, I've had a few people who were like, oh yeah, I'm like gluten intolerant. Is this like better for me? And I'm like, fuck dude, I'm not your doctor. Like, but also no, like you shouldn't do this. And usually it's like something because they saw or read something on the internet, and it's like, fuck man, like this isn't like very complex information to understand. And there are very complex topics to talk about when it does come to bread that should be also talked about because we have the science to do it now. But you don't see a lot of people doing that. And that's okay too. 'Cause it doesn't really fucking matter from a baking perspective. Just make good bread. Feel it out. You'll fucking eventually get it.
Agreed. Yeah. Like we just said, I mean, mix water and flour together, let it hang out for a little bit, and then bake it. Do that 100 times. Something we've talked about on here before, in the jiu-jitsu sphere, there's this IP, information processing style of teaching that has been the lineage for the longest time.
Right.
I am the professor, here is the move.
Right, okay, like the
move,
structure
and
of
you will
it.
do it, and here it is. Well, it needs to be over here, and this is how you do it. In the jiu-jitsu sphere specifically, this newer philosophy in that sphere called the ecological approach or ecological psychology, constraints-based learning. It's more of, here's a situation, figure it out. And you learn by doing. That's kind of like what you said. You know, it's here's the basics of it. go do it a bunch of times and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same idea. You get more knowledge out of doing it that way than here. I will walk you through every fucking step of doing it and then
Right.
fucking, well, why didn't it work? Well, try this, try this, try this. Instead of you just like, hey, go fucking do it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how kids learn the best too.
Exactly.
Through play.
Exactly.
You see it as play.
100%. 100%. You just have to fucking do it, man. I mean, I definitely do kind of like a dual thing where I try to follow, I guess, an ethos of how I act with it, where when I'm not executing something, I act as if I'm a student that knows absolutely nothing about what I'm trying to learn about, or what I'm reading about in particular is usually what it is, because I get most of my learning on this from just like talking to other bakers on Instagram or just reading a fuck ton of books.
Yeah.
I'm mostly a self-taught baker, so I do kind of fall into that category of like, home bakers and shit, because that's where I started. I was just home baking. I did get into it with the overarching idea from the beginning that I wanted to be a baker. Like I don't remember what it was, but I had gotten over like a stint of painting. I painted for like 7 years, stopped for a little bit for some stuff, and really I was like, all right, because I was like young when I got into painting. I was like, you have those grandiose ideas of when you're young of like, I want to be a rock star, or I want to be a painter, or whatever. And mine was I want to be a painter, and got to that age where it's like, yeah, you're just not good enough to like really make a lot of money doing this, So like you need to do something that you're gonna like feel fulfilled with. That, because I knew from my heart since I was born that since I could think that I just wanted to make things, be a creator. And so yeah, I was like, how do I fucking do that? And also have like job security is really what it was. And I had like friends forever tell me that I should work in kitchens because I'd love it. And I was like, no, I just like cooking from home. It's going to ruin cooking at home for me. Later found out that I love working in kitchens. There's nothing I'd rather do in my life. I love the chaos of it. But yeah, I again, I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was like baking hit me. I started doing it, and it just, everything was like clicking like really nicely compared to all the other things that I was doing in my life. It was clicking like painting was clicking, and I was like, yo, I think this could be it. I think this could be like a way that I could make money. And so then it was like, all right, let's have some real fucking goals. Like, what does this look like? Because when I was a painter, it was just, let's make money. Let's be a painter. Yeah. And then you get, 5 years later, and it's like, okay, I've been painting for 5 years. I'm a painter. What now? I've made like $300 probably in that period of my life of 5 years of painting, So yeah, it moved over to baking, and I've been doing that since like 2021. Around the end of 2021. But yeah, it's all just been like mostly self-taught. I tried to get into bakeries and shit, but nobody would take me because I didn't have any kind of experience whatsoever. So
fuck that.
I started going, my first cooking job, bakery job, was at Winco in the bakeries there, because I was like, well, that's a fucking bakery and they'll take me, so I'll jump in there. And it's fucking hilarious because all these grocery stores have some just badass baking equipment and ovens, mixers, like everything you could ever want on like somebody like me. And it's used for the most stupid shit ever, dude. Everything's frozen, everything's par baked, the only thing at Winco that I ever made, I think all of them are like this, but like the fucking dollar French bread that they have out there, that's the only thing I'd use the mixers and the sheeters and rounders and all that shit for, was for these $1 loaves that would make 50 of in a day. And then the rest of it was bagels that were all, frozen, proofed, and then baked. No, there was no creation going on there. But I mean, I kind of expected that, but it was just kind of funny to see like these just, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that any bakery would just kill to have, and they're using it for $50 a day. It's like, how are you guys justifying this?
Exactly,
how are you making your money back on any of this shit? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, man.
And then
Do you ever slide up to Clark College and check out their bakery department?
No, I thought about it before. I was thinking about like going into their program and shit, but
don't go to the program.
Yeah, no, I realized very early on that I was like, no, you can do this shit without any kind of like legitimate learning, as you could put it. And I kind of prefer it that way. I've always kind of been that sort of person where it's like I'd rather teach myself. I'd rather learn the hard way. Like I like suffering when I learn a little bit. It makes it hit harder for me. It makes it stick more a little bit. So when I'm learning, I fall really fucking hard. But I remember those falls a lot more than when I've like learned in high school and shit. So I feel like they're more worth it for me.
Yeah. I would, if you get some time or something like that and want to check out a fucking kitchen, like you said, with the fucking gear in it.
Yeah.
Just call them up, like, hey, I'm a baker. I just want to come through and take a tour of your kitchen and whatnot.
Yeah.
Last time I was up there, I was doing a little talk up there, and I walk into the joint, and the bakery department was installing ovens, I would say. Mm-hmm. And all the electricians and maintenance guys there, and I was like, holy fucking shit. He's like, what? I was like, that's a $200,000 oven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get it fucking hooked up. I'm like, that's like a Lamborghini right there, Holmes. Be fucking gentle with it. And they were putting a piece in that fucking joint.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through stuff, and in the kitchen part of
crazy.
it, I was like, I don't even know what that fucking thing is. He was like, oh, that's what. I'm like, I ain't never seen one of those before. I've cooked 20 years. I don't even know what that thing does.
Yeah.
They got the gear.
Yeah.
They are funded.
That's cool.
And the bakery department puts out some stuff.
That's what I've heard.
They do good work up there.
That's what I've heard. I've all heard
Yeah,
good
just get
things
like a
from
walk
them.
through of the kitchen. It's a fucking massive.
Yeah,
joint,
I'll have to do that. I
stuff.
love just like going to other people's kitchens.
Yeah.
Getting to experience how other people work and
See how it's set up and shit?
yeah, I love it. I try to stage as much as I can. I don't have a lot of time with it with having a kid and stuff and like running my own project.
Yeah.
But any other bakers out there, I will come like wash your dishes and shit.
Yeah.
If you like, let me just watch you work. Like, I love that shit.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that shit. It's so
Touching
fucking-
other people's dough and shit like that. It's
Every time I do it, I just feel like my game just fucking like jumps like a huge step up every single time, no matter what. Just like getting around other people who function like you do, in which, around baker, I feel like bakers and like cooks tend to be a little bit different. Like we all work in like food service, but like the types of people like and the way we function feels a little bit differently. It's like from a personality level, I'm like more line cook energy than baker, because most bakers that I meet are like just really chill, like low key, quiet types and shit. And I love it because I'm not really that kind of energy most of the time. I like high energy stuff. So yeah, just a funny observation I tend to find between the two types.
Yeah, there's some good bakeries in. I would say the best one in Portland right now.
Yeah.
Is probably Little T.
Fuck, dude, Little T. I want to work there so bad.
You know,
I want to go work at
I
Little
got
T.
a stud. His game is fucking top.
Yeah,
Probably
he
best.
did the Coupe de Boulangerie.
Yeah.
And he was part of the one of the few winning American teams.
Yeah, man.
I think we've only won twice or something like that, and since we've started being in it, and he was on the most recent team to win.
Right on.
In like 2010 or something.
Yeah, his baguettes are fucking fire.
Yeah.
His croissant was fucking. Huberman fucking talks about his croissant.
Yeah.
He was like, the best croissant I've had outside of France was in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
Yeah.
He's like, a Little T bakery. I'm like, oh, yep, he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good as shit.
See, I don't hear as much people talking about Little T either. Like from a baker, like people in the know, like cook people, like food people. Yes, definitely, but it's always like Ken's and stuff. I'll admit that was my introduction to bread, was like Ken's, because it was like that was the only local bakery that I knew, and also flour, water, salt, yeast, which pretty much every home baker has read at this point. Great book too, by the way. I will say it does give you some great fundamentals for sourdough baking and how to do it. It's like either that or Tartine. I think Tartine 1 are always like the best like starting points for like really good sourdough learning at home. But yeah, I kind of I like Little T a lot. Ken's is great too, but yeah, Little T was just like, oh, this is just that like next fucking level of like bread, which you don't find or get very often over here.
No.
I mean, I've never fucking traveled outside, so I don't actually know, but just talking to other people, it's what everybody says. So.
And that was one of the bigger things coming out here too. You know, people said, you know, Portland's a great food city and everything.
Here? Sorry.
Yeah, do your thing.
Hell
What
yeah.
have you got to do? You know, people said Portland was a great food city, and I came out. I was like, Is what it is. You know, gets best pizza or whatever. I think
Yeah.
you were talking about best, you know, Portland being a great pizza city and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. And, you know, doing a sandwich project in GFY, you know, trying to find good fucking bread was fucking arduous.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, am I going to fucking bake bread every fucking week for this? You know? Blah, blah,
It's a
blah.
desert on this side of the river, man. There
It's
ain't nothing,
tough.
no like bread bakeries.
Exactly,
So
and
there's
people-
other bakeries, usually sweets bakeries. I mean, that's the biggest market.
Exactly.
Is sweets. You know, you look at the statistics for what makes money in bakeries, and like 40% of the market share is sweets, like
Yeah.
cookies and shit. So I get why people do just like mainly sweets bakeries. It makes the money. I like doing them. So like I like making cakes and shit, but it's not where my heart's at.
Yeah.
My heart's in bread. Bread's like super fucking. It's visceral to me,
Yeah.
like as far as food goes. Again, going back to like the super simple ingredients, it's just like two things, but it's like beans to me, where like that beans are just like lifeblood food of people for centuries, and not just that, but like it's like representatory of like the common person. I feel like throughout history. At least in Europe, you know, but I mean, a lot of other countries too. They're like pretty much every country at this point has like some kind of fermented porridge batter, grain culture of some kind, whether it's wheat or I know India has a lot of like really interesting ones. I want to delve into some of their fermented. I think they do like a lot of fermented like lentil pancakes and shit.
Yeah.
I really want to get into some of that, but yeah, like every culture has some level of that within their society.
Yeah.
So it just like I don't know, it just speaks to me on such a common person level of food. Sugar is like extra when it comes to life. It's a drug to me. Like food is everybody has to eat, and something that everybody eats for the most part. Yeah, it just speaks to me like really hardcore for some reason.
Yeah. I believe every culture in the world has some kind of fermented
Yeah.
products and stuff.
Definitely,
You know?
definitely.
I mean, we could probably rattle off a bunch
Preservation.
Of them. Yeah,
shit.
preservation. It's like, oh, that one was in the jar for a long ass time. Turns out it's fucking delicious, and when we eat it, we feel better.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know?
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, all the cultures. You know.
Do you read
Injera bread,
Do you read a
so-
lot?
I wouldn't say a lot.
I
but
don't read a lot
whatever you say,
myself. I
yeah. Mm-hmm.
mainly, when I have time to read, I'm just reading like baking books because you know it's a fucking opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
I finally got my hands on this book called 6,000 Years of Bread. Have you guys ever heard of this?
No.
It's like it's like an underground baker's book, but it's like it's very like a well-loved book amongst bakers.
What flavor
And
is
it-
that?
Dead. Beach Day. I don't. It tastes like perfume. Somebody gave it to me for free, and they said it was expired. So, puffing on binary code right now.
Right on.
Yeah, 6,000 Years of Bread. It's holy and unholy history.
Peter
The
Reinhardt.
title's a little fucking misleading, I think, but it's like 100 different chapters that go over, not chapters, but like sections that go over just like really esoteric sideways, like things that relate to bread or grain. So like the first chapter, for instance, is like talking about how like, also this book was written like 100 years ago or something. It's a super old book. The first chapter is like talking about like ants cultivating grain and how this has actually been like something that's been studied before and shit. I didn't know anything about this.
Ants are fucking
or
phenomenal farmers.
like the bread cults of Greece. So like these really just kind of like weird esoteric topics that don't have anything to do with like actually baking bread or anything, but just some really fascinating, interesting topics that are like kind of all sub related to bread. Highly recommend just like picking it up and just because you can kind of jump anywhere in the book and you know read like 10 pages and it's
Nice.
like an interesting
I'll check it out. I'll put it on the list.
section about it.
Right on. Something to put on the list. Good.
Yeah. Reading recommends from somebody who listens to the fucking Infinite Jest audiobook.
Heinrich Edward.
Yeah, 1944.
That's an old ass book.
Yeah.
81.
Don't want war.
years.
Yeah, man. Right on. I'll check it out. Yeah, I don't get behind too many cookbooks anymore. You know, I have like 3 I recommend to people, and I've given them away probably 20, 30 times each.
Yeah.
But you know, something like that, like a history around a food product, I'll get behind that more than, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not looking at fancy pictures and fucking some recipe that I'm not going to follow anyway. You know, if you got a cool, you know, what is new in food? What has newly been invented in food? I'm gonna fill up a fucking balloon and send it to a table, and you suck the helium
Yeah.
out of it. Then you get the fuck out of here. You fucking
It's like, no, let's go back to like
Yeah.
realism with food.
Exactly.
Again, back to that idea that you were talking about originally. It's like I can't. I'm breaking this down to a level that I can't like strip it anymore, and like that's what it is,
Yeah.
and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
How it is, and it's been like that for a while. So
Yeah.
let's keep rocking it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. What the fuck was the book I was reading? It was like the history of pizza, like the history of the pizzaiola and stuff like that. I didn't finish it. I got into it. It got a little fucking dry, but that was pretty cool. Just, you know, nobody knows where fucking even the word pizza came from. There's
Really?
all kinds of things like, oh, maybe when the Moors were in Italy, you know, pita. You know, it's like
Oh,
a flatbread.
right.
And the Italians was like, let's put 2 Z's in it called pizza. You know, whatever. It was like, oh, this
Oh,
was
yes.
somebody's name. And I was like, I don't know where it comes from. But flatbreads have been made all over the fucking world for a very fucking long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so happen to put sauce on it and then cheese later on, you know, 200 years later. And now you can get a fucking with pineapple and ranch, you know, for $7.99 for 3 larges. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But, you know, taking it back to where it's
Cyberpunk
from.
future.
That's a good thing. Yeah, man. Food and its history. I mean, people have been eating for a long ass time, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, see where it's from and how it was done originally. Maybe getting back and even trying it and seeing if it's good. Could be a cool thing.
Yeah.
I'll check this out. It seems like a good thing. Seems
Definitely.
like something I would be into.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Good. So you're doing the pop up now once a week on Sundays, right?
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
on.
Sundays 11 to 3 on the porch at Bunnies. Generally a rotating menu, just
Yeah.
kind of whatever I want to do that week. There is stuff that I do every week, obviously,
Yeah.
like sourdough and the hitters that everybody wants. But yeah, mostly I kind of try to have a big shift every seasonal, like right around the equinox or solstice, and just try to. I do that for myself, honestly, more so than for other people.
keep it fresh. Yeah.
Trying to get closer and closer to that, just purely producing something that's like local and getting ingredients that are local, all that, you know, shit that we're all trying to achieve. I feel like, or at least all the good ones and kitchens are trying to
that's
achieve.
the way
for
to
the most
distill
part.
it. Yeah. Plenty of people out there fucking still get the Cisco.
Yeah, a lot of people don't
and-
give a
yeah.
fuck, you know. But I think artisans, again, that funny word, try to aim for some of that.
Right out by you in Ridgefield, Gee Creek Farm.
Yeah,
You ever been there?
Bee Creek.
Have you talked to that guy?
No. I think
you
I just
can-
went to their food. I just think I just went to their produce stand.
So they're at sometimes they're at the Vancouver market. They're usually at the PSU market too. Definitely worth a conversation with that guy.
Yeah.
You might have to hang on for a little bit because he's, I would say, an artist.
Yeah.
Smart dude, and you know, just like you find frustration in talking to people about
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He's gonna hit you with all the hard stuff. You might be like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what the fucking word you're saying right now. But he grows many different kinds of grain
Oh,
and mills it right there.
beautiful,
And if you want something, he can grow it for you as well.
beautiful.
They make their own bread as well, and have
Need to
many
get
of
in
those
touch.
things that are available right down the road too.
Yeah, yeah. I need to get in touch.
I've had some pretty cool conversations with that guy,
Hell
just
yeah.
like in passing. You know, one of those guys, you know, may not look you in the eye when he's talking to you, or whatever, but really informed about his subject, and it was really fucking cool to have conversations with him.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll go check him
Passionate
out,
about
yeah.
what he's doing and stuff.
Yeah,
That's the kind of people I like talking to. People are, you know, sincere and genuine about their passion. That they, the things that make them feel alive. I guess.
exactly. Yeah.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't grow, you know, he doesn't sell a whole lot at the markets, but they do some fresh baked stuff, you know, whatever capacity they can. Sometimes they have different kinds of vegetables and whatnot. But yeah, if you're getting into it deep and you're like, hey, I want XYZ, that's the guy I would talk to in the grain family.
Yeah.
I would talk to him about growing that shit. And then he could do all the right things. You know, he's not gonna fucking spray it down with the fucking glyphosate and everything, and he's gonna treat it right and get you a good product.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'll have to get in touch with
What the
him.
fuck did we talk about last? Maybe it was Amaranth. We were talking about that, and he was fucking waxing deep on a soliloquy. I was like, oh, okay. Was that a yes? Yeah. So, of all the wares that you make, you say you change it up, on the solstice and equinox and stuff like that. What's the one that you lean into? Is like, I'm making this now. This, everything's getting your full undivided attention, but something that gets the little extra. Would you say?
I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm like always kind of shifting, and I try to be like really fluid with everything that I do because I just don't want to become like too attached to any one thing. Like I always want to I never want to be like in this place where I'm like, this is perfect. I can't make this any better. Like usually it has something to do with like process. It does. It's not. I'm not talking about, at least from again bread baking standpoint. I'm usually not talking about ingredients here per se. It's more so like process, which in the bread baking world you could look at as an ingredient, just like temperature and time and such. But I would probably say just the house sourdough that I make, and it's the house sourdough because it's always shifting, it's always changing, it's like constantly getting fine-tuned, and my hope is that like year to year, like it's not the same than it was the year before, but not like an abrupt change, just like these slow like kind of tweaks of it, just becoming something different constantly. Like when I started it, it was pretty much just your standard like tartine loaf, and then I had a shift in how I looked at things and wanted to apply that in different ways, and I did, and it worked. And now all of a sudden I'm at a 20% whole grain percentage in my bread. Cool. How can we put more in there? And now we're sitting at about a 40% inclusion of whole grains in it. And it interacts like something that you'd expect from what you would just be using, or even what I've come to expect from using just pure high gluten flours. Because that's kind of the meta, I think, with a lot of sourdoughs in particular, is like you need high gluten flour. You need to pack as much gluten in there as possible so you can pack as much hydration in it as possible, and that's how you're gonna get big open holes and all that shit that people is Instagram worthy.
Instagram. I wrote that down last podcast,
which is cool. I will say there's some really great, or there's some really cool stuff that comes out of that. Bread Stalker on Instagram is a good example of that. I mean, a lot of these people use a bunch of filters and shit too, but like just kind of going for packing as much hydration into something and then getting these kind of wicked web structures and stuff. There's something to be said about like the uniqueness and cool factor, I guess, of that from a production standpoint and as a baker who is selling product to people standpoint. It's not something I desire personally. I tend to desire soft dough first and foremost than anything else, over hydration, over fucking anything. It's all about soft, like the texture of it when I'm working it. I want the dough to be soft. If it feels tight, it's not where I want it to be. And I tend to find with a lot of high gluten stuff, it's really, really fucking tight, which makes sense.
Yes.
So I actually use certain all-purpose flours these days because it creates a softer dough. And I didn't really. I thought the meta for like pizza places was to use all like high gluten flours and stuff too. It's not. There's a shit ton of places that use all purpose.
Absolutely.
Red Rose is a particular Central Milling Red Rose is a type of flour that comes to mind in particular. That's really fucking great that I have some experience working with that I know a lot of pizza places use. And it's a beautiful flour. It's a very soft all purpose flour and it produces beautiful gluten structure doughs. So, I don't. There's certain things that I think are, how people view that this is how you get this particular thing out of dough. But in the work that I've done, I've found, just like you probably have, that there's 100 ways to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
There isn't just one way to do something, especially with bread. And usually that comes down to process more than anything. Mixing in particular first, and then your time and temperature second. And honestly, I'll get put to the pitchfork for this, but I think most people's shaping and like folds and shit doesn't have as much to do with what they think it has to do with.
Agreed.
People think of gluten structure as like these webs. At least this is kind of how I thought of it. I thought of it like muscle, like fibers and stuff laying over the top of each other. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
That's my alarm to feed baby girl. feed the starter.
Feed the starter, yeah, man.
What was I saying? Sorry, I'm fucking tired
Web
of
structure.
shit. Web structure,
Looking at
right?
other
Okay, so
muscles.
I used to think of it like muscle, and I think a lot of people kind of think of it like this too, because you're envisioning gluten strands coming together, and they're creating this like interwoven thing, like cloth almost, but it doesn't really function like that. Gluten is at this molecular level that's smaller than you can see. These strands that you're like seeing when you're pulling dough apart that's not the gluten molecules and shit. It's like it has more to do with like molecular bonding and shit than it does actually like gluten strands coming together and creating body of the dough and shit. I think the incorporation of air into dough has a lot more to do with a soft dough, and time in particular has to do with attaining a really soft dough more than it does even particular, because like I said, I'm using all-purpose flours. I'm not necessarily just doing that for the softness factor, but it kind of gets me a little bit closer to that. So again, just kind of getting back to the whole thing of what we were asking with what gets a lot of love, the house sourdough gets a lot of love. And that's also because I take that one dough and make like 5 different things out of it too, which is a baker's trick kind of, where, you see like 10 products. I've been getting that lately because I've really like honed in my process of like maxing out my time with like how many products that I can do. And I got about like, I think like 10 products on my table, and I've had a few people like, oh, how the fuck do you do that? And honestly, I'm kind of like tricking you, because I'm only making 3 doughs, and I'm turning those 3 doughs into like 4 things each into different stuff. And like all fucking bread bakeries do this, isn't
Taco Bell philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody does this.
Rice,
It's
beans,
not
and
just
cheese on
me.
15 different things.
Exactly. And the cool thing about bread too is that by changing how you're baking this and what forms and stuff they're in, it'll change flavor outcome.
Absolutely.
A good like logical way to like look at that is think about eating a slice of a baguette versus eating a slice of like a whole sourdough, right? When I'm eating a slice of like sourdough, I'm getting crust and then majority of crumb in it. When I'm eating a piece of baguette, depending on the size of it, I might eat the whole thing of it. And in that case, I'm getting 50% of the crust and 50% of the crumb versus like kind of like a 20%, 80% sort of thing on the sourdough, which is going to create a different flavor outcome. Even cooking it in pans will slightly kind of create these different flavor outcomes. Really, subtle stuff that I don't think most people would actually notice, but, like the baker myself definitely notices, and I would hope other people do, but very, very subtle differences, but they are there for
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
That's how I explain the tomato pie that's on the menu up there to a lot of people. Growing up, that's, a lot of places didn't even call it pizza. A pizza place, and it was like, hey, we got tomato pies. But, it came from Italian-American mothers coming to America, Italians coming over here, Nonas and whatnot, trying to make pizza at home, put it in the oven, and the cheese went on top so it would burn or get too dark. So they put the cheese on the bottom and the sauce on the top. Boom.
Okay.
Tomato pie.
Got it.
And then growing up eating that, it was like a very familiar flavor. It's not really traditional to do on a pizza napolitana, but it's the same ingredients as a margarita, just the cheese is on the bottom. There's a little bit of garlic too, and the sauce is on the top. But the way it hits your palate, you're getting this different ratio, different way it's
Way
going
it
in your mouth.
eats.
It fucking it eats totally different than a fucking margarita, and it hits your palate differently, and it's a totally different experience. People ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I was like, "They're all my favorite, but this is
Right.
the one I eat the most, and this one too." And a lot of people will come in, will get that spiel, and then that's the one they order all the time now. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, it's so fucking different. It's like it's all the same fucking ingredients. So just
Right.
Taco Bell philosophy,
But
so
just,
I get that.
just
yeah.
that order of operation
Yeah.
changes it enough that it's making it into a different product.
That's a great
All
point
of
you made
it's
about
something.
a loaf and getting a certain percentage of crust to crumb,
Yeah.
and then a baguette, same ingredients.
Yeah.
just cooked differently, different ratio.
You could even go even further and be like, okay, say I took 2 different baguettes and I cooked them different amounts of time. Like a lot of bakers, and I know yourself, prefer that really dark
Bien cuit.
fucking crust, bien cuit.
Yeah.
And not the average person in the States is very used to that. And somebody come up to me the other day and was like, "Is it always that dark?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And they tried it out and they loved it.
Yeah.
They just didn't really know until somebody kind of got them to try it because they were so used to fucking store-bought sandwich bread. And
Yeah.
shit. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're from the East Coast.
Well, I mean,
Any bakeries out there that you've visited that just like really stand out, or
I mean,
is anything memorable?
That's
or?
a tall thing.
Yeah, I know that's kind of fucking real broad.
Yeah, I mean,
and
there's
shit,
lots
but
of them.
I'm not a well-traveled person.
No, it's cool.
I'm a pure Northwesterner. Never left the state.
I was kind of touched on it, and we got talking about Little T. When I came out here, finding bread was arduous. Finding good bread.
Yeah.
Making sandwiches. When I lived in Brooklyn, right before I came out here, making sandwiches. If you needed good bread, there was 3 spots on that block.
Right.
That were dope.
Yeah.
That were there for a fucking 100 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want this one, but can you do this? He was like, yeah, we can do that. He was like, I'll send you fucking 30 samples in an hour.
Badass.
I was like, cool. And I was like, can we do this? Can we do this? Yeah. We narrow it down. Boom. Next thing you know, your next 1,500 deliveries are all the same. Fuck. It was
So
dope.
rad.
Caputo's was right on
Yeah.
the fucking same block.
Yeah.
The owner would come down himself, walk down. Here's your warm fucking bread. He'd be like, is this what you want? And we tweak it or no? There was plenty of good places out there. At that shop specifically, we get Caputo's. We get some bread from Balthazar. Ore Washers was fucking dope. They had, what the fuck did they call it? Wine bread or something like that. It was like a Levant, but one of them was the Blanche, the other one was the Rouge. It had like red wine in it or something like that. Fucking dope bread.
That's sick.
There's, plenty of good bakeries, but
Yeah.
like even in New Jersey, like before I was into food, in Trenton specifically, big Italian American population. There was People's Bakery, I would think it was called. You go in there, there's some old known there. You're always getting fucking free cookies. They're always handing you fucking cookies and
Hell
everything
yeah.
like that. And there was there was bread everywhere. And everybody knows what they want. Give me one of those, 2 of those, 3 of those, and everything. And it was all just super solid.
Yeah.
So growing up with that and the accessibility of that, it was just ubiquitous. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. Like bad bread was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You got what is that? Fucking Wonder Bread? What the fuck is that? Why don't you got
Beautiful,
People's right
man.
down there? Why don't you go get
So
some?
cool.
And then going in, living in Philadelphia, going to culinary school there. You go down to South Philly. There's one on that corner, and there's one right across the street on that corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I like that one, but they're XYZ is better. It's like, well, you get fucking both, because
Yeah,
they're right
yeah.
there. There's plenty of that stuff around.
Yeah.
Plenty of places. I remember walking down the street, mildly well lubricated one night. Didn't even know there was a fucking bakery there. I'm walking by and I was like, man, Spidey senses went off, and I was like, and there's a fucking 20-foot fucking wooden handle sticking out of a fucking. I was like, what the fuck is going on in there? I'm looking, and there's fucking loaves of bread everywhere.
Yeah.
I look down the side of the building. I walk down there. Fucking side of the building. The guy sees me. He's like, looks away. He's like, what do you fucking want? I was like, what the fuck is this? He's like, it's a fucking bakery asshole. I was like, yeah, it's that, but how do you get give me one, He's
Yeah.
like, no, you got a bit of this and that. It's, one of those old style fucking ovens. It's like the whole fucking half of the fucking row house is a fucking oven. So he's
Yeah.
got a giant peel. He's in there by himself. Just fucking a jillion fucking loaves at once in this huge fucking oven. I'm like, and it's just like, it looks like a row home in South Philly. Didn't even know it was a
Badass.
fucking bakery.
Badass.
And they're all over the place, So, and good bread was just always a thing,
Yeah.
And there's plenty of good bakeries over there.
I've heard a lot of the proliferation of that was like, was it like tenements and shit in New York?
Oh, yeah.
Where it was
Mhm.
like you just have like full fucking like towns and just like one building essentially. So
Yeah.
like each building and like block would have a bakery,
yeah.
on it and like
Like old school village style
and
too.
it just kind of like continued on. Yeah, exactly. It's like honestly that's the spirit of what I want to get to with like some of what I do where like I'm doing something special that I think is special, and that's great and everything. But you know, when I kind of open this, like, what do I do and stuff? It's like, yeah, I just want to fucking feed people, because I don't think there's a lot of great bakeries out there. I mean, we live near Portland, so you have a shit ton over there. But I don't think you should have to drive, you know, to a big city to go and access that. I think that every fucking town should have that. And if you're somebody who, you know, got into this whole sourdough thing and shit during COVID, and you like want to press for opening a bakery, go fucking do it. We should have more neighborhood bakeries, and like where, yeah, you just serve your community. Like you serve this like 1 mile radius around you. Because you can survive on that. Like
Absolutely.
we all fucking can. Like I'm getting by, you know, on the small community that's in Ridgefield, and I don't even feel like I have a lot of traction of people who know about me yet in there.
Not yet, yeah.
Just because I've kind of bounced around with what I do a lot in this past year, trying to figure out how to do this, because I've never owned a business or. And I'm not really a business-oriented person, and more the artist brain. Yeah, exactly. I'm finding that out, where it's like, oh yeah, you don't have a choice, dude. You have to do this shit, and it's been setting in much more lately. So I'm doing more of that business type shit. Not fun, but it's a means to the end. It allows me to do the artistic shit and also make enough money to pay for my ingredients and continue to do this every day. So I'm just grateful, honestly, more than anything, that I even have anybody coming and picking up a loaf here and there and allowing me to keep doing this weird passion that I want to do. So thank you to any of my supporters who are watching this, and to detractors, fuck you.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself, huh?
Fuck yourself.
Hit the button. Go fuck yourself button. We gotta go fuck yourself button. I'm sure we do.
Go fuck
100%.
yourself.
Yeah,
100%. You're a
idea
piece of
the,
shit.
The village baker. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. You know, there was one oven, the village bakery. Everybody takes their stuff there, and that's where it gets cooked.
Yeah.
You know, I probably told this story before, but you know, the idea of a giant wood-fired oven before there was gas and stuff like that. You know, on the firing day when it's hot, that's where, you know, flatbreads were made and these certain things that cook at this temperature.
Yeah.
And the next day was the day after the firing day, so things that cooked at 500 degrees, like bread and stuff like that. That was the next day. Well, the day after that, you know, it was like 350, 400, so we can make croissants and certain cookies. And after that, it was, you know, things that cooked at a lower temperature. And it's like, oh, it's about 140 degrees. What do we do now? Well, we line the whole fucking thing on the outside with these jars of milk, and that's how yogurt gets done. And then it's closed for a day, they clean it up, and it starts up again, and the whole fucking process starts over again.
Yeah.
And that's how bread is fucking made, and a village is sustained by fucking firing an oven once a week.
It's like this
go figure.
spiritual hearth of the town,
Yes.
or like the community.
Exactly.
Whereas, you know, rather than just the hearth being in your home, it's a hearth for all these people around you. I definitely have like a weird, I guess it's not weird, but yeah, like a fantasy of being able to like create a community oven, like large ass
Yeah.
fucking community oven somewhere where it is, yeah, like for other people, like not just myself to like make bread, but for other people to do like whack weird shit out of too.
man.
And then just completely fund it and let people get creative with it and figure out how to make that happen. But yeah, a lot of cool, weird ideas. And you know, getting into like a even more complex issue with that, I think that community sponsored like food systems are one of the few ways that we can combat megacorp type influence over us with food. Just a, you know, simple example of kind of what I mean by this is like we're seeing certain food systems that we've relied upon for a very long time starting to falter, namely like grocery stores and our access to certain foods. I'm not going to get into eggs because it's not really what I'm talking about here, but for instance, we'll take like West Virginia, for example, a place that's very mountainous, hills. They can't grow a shit ton of food there. Usually there's kind of like this history of people being self-preserving, I think that's the right term, where, you know, pickling and growing, having your own home garden and all that good kind of culture. But being able to like do mass production of food for communities and stuff isn't really in the question in a place like that. And so it's also a very poor state and very poor communities out there with the loss of, like coal industry and shit like that. So with that, you see people not doing those things and going over to like grocery stores like Walmart in particular. So Walmarts pop up, people become reliant upon them, and then when the corporation doesn't see that they're making enough money out there, they can completely take it away. And this is happening like all over West Virginia, actually. And so it's leaving these people very in a place where they can't provide for themselves anymore, and it's bringing townships and hollers down to like populations like 50 now, because people have to move out of them, and losing a lot of culture, and it's not really solving the problem. I think the problem is that where you rely on really kind of ridiculous food systems in the U.S. like like getting strawberries year round. Why the fuck can I get strawberries year round? Why can I get avocados year round? Why doesn't anybody question any of that? And it's because of that I can have anything that I want here right now. I can fucking have mortadella from Italy. I can have a baguette from France. I can have all of this shit shipped straight to my fucking door. Yeah. And nobody thinks that there's anything wrong with or weird with that. A lot of food people, who are aware of that kind of thing do. But when it comes to like me being in like the food industry, the people I care about touching the most aren't like foodies or like chefs or cooks and stuff, because they already fucking know. Yeah. Like I want to touch the average person. I want to like teach them about better food systems to use for themselves, because I grew up relatively poor. I knew how to cook, but I was a hamburger helper household and shit like that. And it wasn't until much later in life that I realized that you could still make really great fucking food on a budget. It just takes more time, and I think that as we go further, as we continue on in the American way of life that we have, where technology progresses in a way to steal our time from not necessarily steal our time, but we're paying for it, right? Like you watch TikTok or Reels or videos, and it doesn't feel like you're having anything taken away from you, but you're getting time taken away from you, and the companies benefit because they're selling ad space. And this doesn't seem like a huge problem in small amounts, but if that's like what a large amount of what you're consuming is, and then you're also going, I don't have enough time to fucking cook a really good meal. I don't have enough time to spend like 2 hours on a meal. That's like an average of like what I'll spend on a meal for like my family is like an hour or 2 hours to make something good that's also relatively cheap, affordable in this day and age. And so I think most people are willing to sacrifice something that's quick, easy, convenient, and cheaper potentially for their time. And I don't think that that's really healthy for us in the long run. I mean, food is one of those things that, like sleep, that everybody has to do. So why the fuck wouldn't you, in your life, why wouldn't that be something that you would invest more in? Like why not fucking invest in a really nice bed for yourself? All of us have to sleep, and you sleep a third of your life. It should be one of those things that you kind of invest more, especially if you have like family too, like a family at home and stuff. Like invest in that time of like making dinner together and having that communal sense, because that's something that's like transcendental to all of human history. Like that's where we come together, is food and eating together and
breaking bread.
Breaking bread. Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing.
So yeah, I think that more smaller scale of food systems are really a way to combat the potential problems that arise with us becoming reliant on mega corporations to provide for us when they don't actually fucking give a shit about us. It's just the amount of money they can make off of us, which again is fine in the short term. It's not, I don't think it's something inherently evil. I think people just want to make money, but you as the common person shouldn't have to play into that. You should be self-reliant to an extent, especially in this fucking day and age where everything's so uncertain.
Nobody is coming to save you.
Yeah, nobody's coming to save you. Save yourself. Save yourself, please. Exactly. I beg you.
Yeah. Have you thought of CSA is a big thing. Community supported
Yeah,
agriculture.
yeah,
A lot of
totally.
farms doing that. Doing
There's a
the
lot of
CSB.
bakeries doing that
Yeah.
these days. Like Starter comes to mind
Yeah.
for sure.
He started it during the Pandy Wandy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely considered it.
Or aligning with a CSA.
Yeah. I've
The
kind of
red
like
truck isn't
I've
very
kind of
good.
talked to some people here or there. Nothing's ever come to like full fruition
Mm-hmm.
yet or anything like that. But I'm totally open to it to any farms who want to do something like that. I've talked to a few people, and like I said, just kind of. I think everybody's just busy is sort of what it is. It's hard
I mean,
to set these kinds of things
Right out there
up.
in Richfield, Danny's right there at Full Plate Farm.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of his business is CSA. Chucking a loaf of bread in that.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
week and
I think
getting
that
good. Mm-hmm.
bakers and farmers should definitely work together to do those kinds of things.
And Red Truck's right there as well. A
Yeah.
lot of their business. They got that whole farm stand right there.
Yeah, Red Truck was one of the ones I was actually talking to.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's one of those things where we've just kind of gone back and forth here or there,
Yeah.
and then we get busy, and then it's like, oh, it's been like 3 months since I've hit this person up. But that's how it goes.
You are
That's
a
how it
business
goes.
person.
Yeah, fucking A, dude.
Wait, where'd my time machine go?
Yeah,
I gotta-
exactly.
supposed to do this.
I was just telling Charlie about a story, and I was like, holy shit, that was a year ago. It felt like 3 months ago. My weeks feel like a couple days, honestly, a lot of the time.
Time traveling.
But, I was the fucking idiot that decided to start a business at the same time as having my first child, so...
You got 2 babies now.
Yeah, I got 2 babies,
Yeah.
but it's all worth it. Like
Yeah.
I said, all that pain and,
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it suffering because it's fucking not, but that hardship makes
Yeah.
you stronger and shit. So
Absolutely.
It's fucking good.
What is the path you see for Lake River Baking? Do you want to have a cart or a brick and mortar?
Yeah, I want to have a brick and mortar.
Stores?
That's always been the plan, like since day one.
Oh, no
like kind
shit.
of what I was getting back to before, where when I got into baking, I set out to have like a clear goal of like what. So I want to be a baker, right? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
When I was a painter, it was like I want to be a painter, and it's like you're sitting around 100 paintings now, dude. You're a painter. Like
you
where do you
are,
go
yeah.
from here? So obviously it was like, all right, I want to be a baker. That means going and working in bakeries, but I got to have something more than just that. That's pretty attainable, honestly, to just go work in a bakery. At the time, it was like, well, I need to work here before I can work here, sort of thing. Now I'm pretty confident that I could go kind of work at any bakery and at least get an in and get myself
Contribute in some
going.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas before it was like, I just want to wash your dishes. Sorry, what were we talking about with that? Again, super
What the
tired.
path do you see for your
Oh,
business?
right, yeah. So when it was like, what does it mean to be a baker? I want to open something. I want to have my own spot. I want to be able to artistically control it, like all of us artists do, control freaks with what we're doing. I know you feel that. Like you want to know the product that's coming out. You want to have
Yeah.
you want to be the final fucking judge to say like that's acceptable or not.
Mm-hmm.
At least you might not have been the one that made that fucking pie, but
Mm-hmm.
you want to be the one to fucking for sure know that that's what you want to be putting out into the world, and be represented by.
Yeah.
I definitely have that too from, again, just the artist background and the creator background where it's like, yeah, I want to not just make product. I don't want to just make bread to make money. I want to make, I'm not really doing much stuff that's like avant-garde here or anything with Lake River, mainly just because, there's not really a market for it here. You have to, I think, be into like a foodie area to be doing stuff kind of like that. But I'd love to do things like that. And I think brick and mortar is a way to do it. It gives the means to, or the scratch to kind of do something like that and be like, yeah, fuck you. I'm doing it like this because I fucking put up all this money and shit towards a business to it, and I'm the one that's fucking deciding that this is how it's gonna go. So yeah, I want to open a brick and mortar. I would like to do it in Ridgefield. Lake River is for Ridgefield inherently. I named it after the main tributary of water that runs through Ridgefield. It's called Lake River. I just thought it was like kind of a stupid name. That's why I chose it, Lake River. But it's the river that flows into Vancouver Lake, and I live in Vancouver Lake, or I live in Vancouver, and then I go up to Ridgefield to work and provide for that community. Mainly just because. Well, I would love to do it in Vancouver because this is where I live in my home, but the means and the universe came together to allow me to do it in Ridgefield, and I'm going with that. So because that has allowed me to do it there. And just because I really fucking adore the town, honestly. I really do adore Ridgefield and the people there. They're all super fucking nice. I was kind of off-put at first because not a lot of people look like me walking around in Ridgefield. You know, people with piercings or tattoos or anything. You kind of get the vibe at first that people might not be chill like that with people like me. But no, everybody's super fucking nice. Everybody I've met there is really supportive, awesome, just genuine people out there. And I have nothing but nice things to say. I'd love to move out there one of these days.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And people will be like, "Do you live out here?" And I'm like, "Not on a baker's salary, dude." But yeah, there's some spots. There's this building I really want to get into called the Greeley Building. It's an old historical building there. They used to be their bus mall for their school buses, and they're taking out all the school bus, and because it was like a repair shop and shit too. Okay. So they're taking all that out, and they want to make it into brick and mortar businesses. Okay. And they were talking about having it done by the end of this year, and so it was kind of just out of my head that I would ever get into there. But it turns out there's going to be some more work they have to do, so it's probably going to be another couple years. So there's some potential there. I'd really like to go into the Greeley Building one day.
Greeley, check it out.
Yeah, it's just one of the few historic buildings in Old Town Ridgefield, which definitely where's my heart is at. It's where Bunny's is. It's also like right next to the wildlife refuge. Like you can see the refuge from town. It's beautiful. So yeah, I just really adore that town, and yeah, I wanna open Lake River as a brick and mortar there, get it going, and then hopefully eventually take some more scratch and open a bakery in Vancouver.
Nice.
Back home. That's like the ultimate goal. Like past that, I don't really have much vision past that, but like 2 bakeries, is what I would like to own. 2 different bakeries. It wouldn't be like Lake River here. It'd be something completely different and much more avant-garde bread shit. Artistic bread for sure.
Could dig it. Whatever happened to if you're going down the main street there? I forget what it's called, Pioneer or whatever.
Yeah.
When you get to where it tees right there, there's a church back over there.
Yeah. So that
turned into something?
Yeah, that turned into something. So that's it's called the Neighborhood Refuge now, I believe. It's like I haven't been in there yet. I keep on meaning to go. It's just hard for me to get into going and hanging out in Ridgefield too much because I'm usually like working when I'm there, and by the time I'm off shift, I'm like so fucking tired. Like today, it's like I just did like a 16-hour shift. Like I want to head out. Neighborhood Refuge.
It's like a restaurant. It is a bar or something.
Yeah, so they got like a bar in there. They do serve food. It's very like moody lounge is the vibe I get from the pictures.
Cisco.
One of the things I appreciate the hell out of them for doing is they took all of the old stained glass out of the windows and like refurbished them and put them back up.
Nice.
So they refurbished all those stained glass. It's beautiful as hell. It's a very beautiful space.
I looked at that space many moons ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be a spot for a restaurant.
It's very beautiful.
Pull up the menu and let's see what's handcrafted about their menu. Our kitchen. If your food is catching on fire like that, I'm just I hate to tell you, you're doing some maybe a little.
I think they definitely have some maybe not foo-foo vibes is the right word.
Food. It's right there.
I clicked it, and this is all it's got.
No menu.
There's no menu?
Not here.
Can you click on expert? It's got an expert team of created dishes and unique flavors. What in the AI wrote this fucking thing?
I'm gonna try and find a menu. Hold on.
Website reviews.
Yeah, menu right there. Next on the
here it is. Yeah, on the right side.
It's a call.
Menu. Yeah. Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits.
Refuge Fall. What the fuck?
This is cocktail.
Oh, it's cocktail. Rum. Captain Morgan's. They got the good stuff.
Great.
Okay, here we go. A charcuterie cup. $14.95. Chicken strips, Italian chopped salad, shrimp and grits, roasted tri-tip sandwich, pasta on a whim. I like mine on a plate or in a bowl, but if you want to stick it on a whim, good for you. Next. I'm not reading none of that. Bavarian sticks. Okay. The refugee meatball.
Sticks. I love that. Refuge.
Dreadlock Ross, refugee. Oh, refuge meatball. Roasted beef and orange salad. French. Ham and cheese croquettes. Cheese curds.
Crockett's.
That's more cocktails, beer.
I'm fairly certain they
rye.
don't sell wine. Well, speaking of which, if you want to get wine when you're up in Richfield,
Oh, that new wine shop.
Richfield
Yeah.
Wine Bar.
Yeah.
Mandy, that's my
Yeah.
girl. Shout out. Fucking love you, Mandy. You're awesome. Go check her out. Awesome selection over there.
She just serve food?
No food over there. Don't have a
Go
kitchen
talk-
space
go
in
talk-
there,
no,
but
no, go talk to her. Make
yeah,
a bu-
no. I put bread in there once in a while with
Make
her.
a bunch of like fucking pre-made sandwiches.
Right. Yeah, we've definitely been talking about doing a day over there with
Yeah.
like sandwich day or something.
Camembert. Make a
Yeah.
fucking bunch of Camembert and fucking room
Yeah,
temperature.
yeah.
With wine.
I've done it a few times. I like go to a Confluence winery once in a while. I've done a couple sandwich days out there, and it's always like really successful.
They don't have the fucking menu.
Yes, it looks awesome and delicious. I would love a charcuterie cup.
It's very Instagram.
Yeah.
Very,
It is what it is.
very Instagram.
Yeah, man.
Instagrammable.
Instagrammable. Yeah, put that down last one. Instagrammable. Instagrammable. It's right there.
Instagrammable, yeah.
For the graphic designers and stuff.
I like that you wrote Natchlev down.
Yeah, I like the abbreviations.
That's one of my
like
favorite.
Bradgelina and stuff like that. Like the new words.
I prefer to use it over like sourdough and shit because
Yeah.
I fucking hate the term sourdough.
I don't even know what that fucking means anymore.
It's just exactly. It's such
Yeah.
a loose term.
I'll edit all that
yeah,
out.
so you would crush it in Ridgefield because of the other.
How are you
Richfield.
going to compete with In-N-Out?
Yeah, I know, dude.
You saw In-N-Out fucking artisanal fucking hamburger buns. Hamburger? I would like to buy a hamburger. Hamburger. You sell them local fucking buns, and they sell 50 of them and charge $20, and you get a VIG on that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Keep it local, In-N-Out.
I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on a good hamburger bun right now.
it's
I want
tough, man.
to. It is tough. There's so many It doesn't sound difficult, but it is like one of the more difficult ones to like kind of go from scratch at.
Yeah.
And I don't like most of the recipes I come across from. They don't come at it from like a grounded standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to do a Natchlev version of it. So this is why I call it Natchlev too. This is another.
Sure, yeah.
So you can do naturally leavened quote unquote sourdough and it not be sour. And I don't
Correct.
just mean that on like using the normal Levon structure and everything. You can actually train starters to not produce bacteria and create these like lactic acid or basically train it to not produce the bacteria that's going to produce the lactic acids and stuff. You do hear about it on like Instagram and other places. They call it sweet starter in particular. It's pretty much just taking a starter and training all of that out, and so that it's just yeast by creating an osmotolerant environment. So adding sugar to it.
All right, Dr. Science. Ooh, here we go.
But yeah, it's just I think to me, I think there's just easier ways to go about it. Methods. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've already figured out how to do this.
Yes.
Raisins or taking yeast from fruit is a really good method that
Big
I
one.
like. That is very popular in Japan right now for some of their natural artisan stuff that they're making. Yeah, taking raisins or like koji and letting that soak and using that water to create a starter and shit like that. I think those have more. I think they have more merit on like a non-sour starter than a sweet starter does, because a sweet starter is like creating a panettone starter essentially. So it's a lot of training and work, and it is much more finicky on like the numbers. It is like that getting into that science level of it, because you're like really trying to hit that osmotolerant mark where it's not producing this bacteria, but not so much that it's taking hydration away from the yeast, and the yeast isn't like reproducing and doing its effects that it needs to. I don't know how to do it. I've never successfully done it. I'm messing around with trying with it, but yeah, doing something along those lines I'd love to do for a naturally leavened hamburger bun. And try to create that in a system that's like consistent to be produced every single time.
Nice.
But at the same time, you know, everybody wants a enriched hamburger bun. Brioche, I think, is
fuck
brioche still like the meta for
I
everybody
don't
with
fucking
hamburger
know.
buns?
And if you,
what is the meta for hamburger buns right now?
I don't know. And I hope it's not brioche
What
anymore.
the fuck does Goonburger use?
They switched over to Big Marty's.
Big Marty's.
Yeah, the fucking Martin's potato. They switched out from France. They went to Martin's potato rolls.
Nice.
They were using France for the longest time, and then the rep came in. So the story goes. The rep came in and was like, "Oh, you don't order enough. Go to cash and carry." And they were like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Yeah.
Who's next? And they went to the potato bun. So Martin's potato rolls.
Yeah.
The Big Marty is the hamburger size one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which I
Yes.
I like. So yeah, that's what I was told they were using last time I talked to them
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, I hope brioche fucking ruined the hamburger
Yeah. I
for a
agree.
while.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, back in 2010 when I was slinging burgers at the restaurant I was working at. We had a burger on the menu, and me and my homie Dave Katz, he was had a strong stance, we'll say, on brioche
Oh,
on
yes.
burger buns, and it's extrapolated into many things on the Instagram, I'm sure as well. But he was a proponent of the snowflake roll for a burger. I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued.
Snowflake roll?
Yeah, you're not familiar with snowflake roll? I'll pull one of Charlie.
Kaiser roll situation?
Nah, you'll be saying a bit. And I was like, I went, there was a baker out there, Wildflower Bakery, snowflake roll,
That's the one.
bingo, for a burger. I was like, that's a good fucking.
Is the flour on the outside of it?
It can be, yeah.
It's just not, more for
Dusted, yeah.
aesthetic than.
There's an actual sniff.
Okay.
So I went with, there was a local bakery, Wildflower, and he was a Israeli dude, Jewish dude, whatever. His challah was fucking bananas. I was like, oh, maybe make a hamburger bun out of it? He's like, I could do that. And they were fucking dope.
I bet.
They would come in every day, a jillion of them or how many we get. And that was like breakfast every fucking day.
Yeah.
You grab one and be like, this one is a little mashed up.
Yeah.
I guess I will eat it now. And they were fucking awesome.
Damn.
They normally didn't last a day or two or something like that, but you had some left
Right,
over. They were still
right.
fucking solid, man. And enriched enough. If it was a day old, you throw them on the fucking flat top, and it's like, that comes right back. It was beautiful. But I was a challah guy for the burgers that we did there. He was a snowflake roll, but we always agreed on that, like brioche.
I
fucking killed the
like
burger.
challah as an option for that. Honestly, one that I haven't considered, but I think for anybody listening who's not like a baker, I think the big thing with that's hard about a good hamburger roll is like you're trying to like strike this balance between something that's like pretty soft and works as a vessel for all of the innards and shit. Soft as fuck as you can get without it falling apart to all the
the one.
juices and shit. And this is where brioche is a problem.
Yes.
Is that if you've ever gone to any like brew pubs or anything
Yeah.
that fucking have Fran's brioche in particular, that your shit falls apart halfway through eating it,
Yeah.
and that's not a quality that I find desirable in a bread product. Challah, one of the reasons that I bet it works pretty good. That's something I've heard of lately when it comes to enriching. Going back to that kind of softness philosophy that I was talking about, using again, I'll get the pitchforks for this, but using your enrichment oil as something that's not stable at room temperature is going to create a softer product from it, because it's not going to create solidified structures within the dough once it's sitting at room temperature
sits,
and
yeah.
cooled. So yeah, with like brioche, yes, you do get these soft qualities, not just because you have a bunch of butter in it, but also egg and all this other enrichment that's usually put into it as well. A typical one is also milk powder. Like I use that a lot. I love milk powder in bread doughs. But yeah, stuff that's not staying stable at a room temp, like vegetable oil in particular. That's a big thing in challah, or eggs. Yeah, I think that is a really good fucking option for hamburger buns. I wouldn't use something like ciabatta. I've been to, because that's the other side of the spectrum, is like somebody using something like they think ciabatta might work for a hamburger bun. I know that people were doing that for a little bit, and at least good ciabatta can work, I think. But American ciabatta that you expect, the average person, when they hear ciabatta, they think like hard crust and shit, which I don't think really signifies a ciabatta. But they think it's like hard crust. I've never enjoyed a hamburger bun that was on, or a hamburger that was on American style ciabatta buns, because it's just like, fuck, dude, like I can't even like get through. I end up squishing like all the shit on the inside of it before my teeth actually can bite through the crust of it. It's like
burger
that's
shoots out the back.
Yeah, that's the completely opposite side of what like brioche is. So it's like trying to create a recipe that like sits in between these things. And again, it was also just a fucking vessel, so it shouldn't be crazy expensive, because the people turning out like Goonburger, turning out 100+ hamburgers or whatever, doesn't want to spend a shit ton of money on hamburger buns. So striking that balance can be kind of difficult, in my opinion, especially going the Natchlev route.
Yeah. Yeah, the time that is put into that too, it's different. I don't know. So for the GFY, all the majority of the sandwiches were on Ken's ciabatta,
Hell yeah.
and we did burgers a couple times. I think we made burgers.
You were the one getting Ken's? I saw their truck come down here like
They
a
come down
bunch
here
of
pretty
times.
frequently.
Who
I
else
think,
did they serve?
I think somebody down at the riverfront, maybe.
Yeah, I don't
Not
know.
sure.
I
They're down
know when I
here
worked at
frequently,
Conejo, I would like see their truck come down once in a
Yeah,
while.
we would get
was
it,
one of the
once a
talk
week
to
for
them.
GFY, but Ken's does a bunch of fucking stuff. The retail list, it's like 4 items. 3 of them,
Yeah.
not my thing. And I was like, let me try the ciabatta, and then it wasn't that thing where it was like super hard.
Yeah, it
especially
shouldn't be.
they get fresh delivered on Saturday. We don't refrigerate them or anything. Leave them out the next day. They're going to get toasted. Put a bunch of stuff on them. Wrap them up. It's going to steam a little bit. You've had 1,000 of those sandwiches.
Yeah.
When you get it, it's like I could squish this and eat it. So it worked for everything I wanted. Not necessarily the American ciabatta. Not like a mouth cutter or anything.
Theirs is like more the proper artisan
Exactly.
ciabatta. And ciabatta is one of those ones that, to me, does kind of just sit in that artisan level of bread making, because it's relatively new. Like, people think of like ciabatta as like this ancient bread, but it's not. It like was invented in like 89 or some shit like that, as a way to just like pack more water into bread and like kind of get more money out of it. Water is the baker's friend. The more water we can pack into the bread, the more money I make. That's for free. Which I don't think is where the modern sourdough high hydration philosophy necessarily comes from, but ciabatta definitely was in the beginning, and that's a product that I do really enjoy, that has high hydration, that's can be a sourdough, but has very distinct qualities that are different than sourdough. You typically aren't, putting this insanely hard, thick crust on it and baking it down. Like, I think the ciabattas that I make usually are only in the oven for like 12 minutes or something, 13 minutes, whereas like my sourdoughs are in the 500-degree oven for 25, 30 sometimes, depending on how dark I want it. But yeah, love me some good ciabatta, especially with the Polish pre-ferment.
I could dig it. Yeah, I was, trying a bunch of breads and whatnot. That was the one I settled on, and it turned out to be not acceptable, but very good for, all the sandwiches will go on this unless we do something else for that. It was a good vehicle for it. And it had that quality where it would hold up and whatnot. And because, working with ciabatta, that high hydration and whatnot, you get in and some of them are, diamond shaped, and that one's kind of round. These are square because, they're hard to form and you don't want to handle it a whole lot. You'll get some that I wouldn't call it misformed, but you'll cut it and the bottom blows out because it's got that fucking belly button on it. It's like, all right, well, we're not going to use that one. That'll be breadcrumbs. But not super frequently. The level of bake on them would be, they would come in and it's like, oh, I'm eating one of these right now because I like the bake on it. And that one's like, tomorrow we're going to toast those a little bit more. But yeah, it was a great product and I like it. I got a couple in the freezer still, probably turn them into breadcrumbs, or I made some sandwiches today on them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's a good product.
So when walking through your kitchen, I noticed you don't have a mixer. Do you mix everything by hand?
Absolutely. Always
That's
have.
fucking beautiful. Like, for the level of, how long are you hand mixing for? If you don't mind me asking, like on a batch.
I mean,
you don't ever time it, I assume.
I
but,
don't.
Like,
So I
if
don't.
you could put a rough estimate to it.
I don't mix it. Like, I'm not kneading dough. I mix dough.
Oh, so you mix it and then you let it sit. So you do like kind of you have the
like an autolyse type
Jim
thing.
Leahy philosophy, kind of.
A
little bit.
Or I just distilled it down and be like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's more of a passive thing. The time doing the extrapolation of the gluten
time
type thing.
develop the gluten, because that was one of the things when I was working with that pizza dough. I was like, this is beautifully developed gluten in here. And then when I saw no mixer, I was like, yo, my man's mixing this by hand. Holy shit. And I mean, I don't know if I've told you this. I've been working for the past like year on a mixer that like runs backwards. Our mixer shit out.
Does that? How does that work with the hook? Because the hook's designed to go one way.
I've had to get like really creative. This has pushed my baking skills tremendously to like figure out how to like properly mix dough on something like this. So our mixer broke, shit out. We go and get it repaired. We get it back. After a couple days, we're like, this is running kind of weird. And I think I don't know who was the first to notice it, but I was like, dude, this is running backwards. This isn't running properly.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. And so we got a hold of the people who fixed it, and I think they just ghosted us pretty much. Or we're like, yeah, we don't know. You know, it's like, fuck, dude, we're like out of like a bunch of money and all this shit. But it's mixing dough, at least. It's not doing what a mixer is supposed to do. Because like with a mixer too, there's a few things that happen, not just the mixing of the dough that people don't normally think about. One of the big ones, which I had mentioned before, was the incorporation of air, which will help create a soft dough. I didn't really explain why do I like that, but the reason I like that is because when we incorporate air, we're creating all of these like small little air pockets where fermentation can happen, and it just, because of that, it creates more aeration of the dough, which creates a softer dough at the end of the day. Through those methods, my sourdough will be soft at day 5 still, cutting into it. It's one of the things I strive for with a lot of my breads, is because I'm only open 1 day a week, I want my shit to last you pretty much until you have to come see me again. That's the idea behind it, at least. But yeah, so like a properly running mixer, and different mixers do it really well. I just got a spiral style mixer.
I saw that. Yeah, you picked it up from somebody downtown.
Yeah, on my way uptown market. Bless up. You guys are beautiful, wonderful people. Much smaller than what I've been working with, so I got to change my staging of doughs and all that good stuff. But just a complete fucking difference in my bake today comparatively to what I normally do, which is a backwards running mixer, because with the backwards effect, it's not actually incorporating any air into the dough. It's actually like tearing itself apart. So we get the act of it mixing the hydration and the dough part or the flour particles evenly, but there's no development of like gluten structure that's happening. So I had to find different ways to make that happen. So I'm working with so much dough that hand mixing it just kind of takes too much time.
What's your batch size?
So my house sourdough, I'm doing 25 kilos at a time.
That's total. That's
yeah, the full mix, total mix is 25 kilos of that. And
so
then,
what's your flour on that? Flour. I'm just trying to extrapolate.
Let me think about that.
Like my full batch is 10 keys of flour, so I got all the other stuff on there. I think that's 10 divided by the square root of
it's like 22 pounds or something.
9.6. I do 2 of those. So it's like 19.6 kilos or something of flour.
Let me see, 17.
That doesn't sound right though.
18, 19.
It might be less than that. I don't have my recipe on me.
Yeah. So my full batch of dough, which we don't make all the time, is about 20 keys
20
by
keys.
hand.
Word.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a period. I was mixing by hand. The problem was when I started incorporating other doughs into my schedule, where it was like, fuck, this is like really difficult to kind of make everything happen on time, because at least I work for 16 hours straight, and I'm just going the entire time. There is no breaks. There is no, I'm gonna go sip on some coffee real quick or anything. It is constant movement, constant function, and it's definitely something I've honed in over the past year, just to kind of get as much out of my time to give to people while I'm there, because I'm only there 1 day a week. I might as well go fucking hard as shit. Yeah. If I was there every day, it'd be kind of a different story. But it's let's go 110%. Let's go 200%. Fuck it. So I think the end dough weight is about 25 kilos for the house sourdough, and then the bagels is 9 kilos, and then I do both of those are sourdoughs, And then I do one enriched yeasted bread that isn't sourdough. So I just call it my butter dough. 'Cause it's just got a lot of butter. It's not a brioche level amount of butter, but it's butter, eggs, dry milk powder, that sort of thing. So it works well with rolls. It's actually what the donut's made out of too.
Oh, right on.
I make my white bread out of it. I make cinnamon swirl bread out of it. It's just, I like it a lot because it's a really versatile product. Kind of can sit in place of brioche and kind of sit in place of just like white bread. It fills a lot of rolls, so I've really enjoyed using it.
Fills a lot of room. Nice.
That wasn't intentional, but that was a good catch.
Yeah, man.
And then that one is like 14 kilos of dough. So, and I usually do those all like kind of back to back to back and stagger them so that like the proofing, because they all have different proofing times of when they have to get shaped. So I have to like kind of set all of that up properly so that once I'm done shaping this one, then I'm shaping the next one, and then that's getting done, at this level. It's really fucking hard to do when you're working with sourdough, where it could be very, fucking all over the place depending on your temperature, not having like proper control, not having proper mixing methods. It can be kind of all over the place.
And doing it one day a week too.
Yeah.
If you're doing it 5 or 7 days
there's a
week,
lot more repetition.
There's a
in
rhythm
that,
to it too.
I don't have that hardcore rhythm with it. I want to get more days doing something with Lake River. I'm not sure what, but and I also don't know how to work it in with like having a kid right now.
Yeah.
But that is another goal of mine, is to like get maybe another day of Lake River functioning, just because honestly, on a personal level, I want more reps.
Yeah.
I want to up my game. I want to constantly be getting better at what I'm doing, just not for my sake, but all of the people who get bread from me's sake as well.
I could dig it. Yeah, man. Yeah, the mixing the dough by hand, having eaten a lot of bread and pizza and whatnot, and I think we were talking about this upstairs, a lot of pizza shops put the ingredients in the mixer, turn it on for 10 minutes, turn it on, and then go walk away and do something else. Like, it's passive work. And who's to say that dough is not done in 8 minutes or 9.5 minutes? And like you said, you want soft dough.
Yeah.
If that extra mixing time makes that tough and different, then you miss an opportunity there. Because I don't need my dough, I more mix it. The first stage of it, I do it as a straight dough, so all the ingredients are in there at one time. In a certain order: flour first, then the salt, then I put all the water in it, then I put the starter on top of it. Mostly last, just to make sure it's floating and active. But if it's not, something really fucking went wrong.
Right.
Because I've been doing it a long time. And then I just mix it until there's no dry flour.
Yeah.
I'm not kneading it at all. I'm kind of just like sloshing it around.
Kind of getting it
like,
to that level where you'd be at it like at a proper auto lease.
Exactly.
Thing.
And then I stop and usually do something else for that time. It's usually cutting out benching the dough, rounding it, putting that away. That might take, for a full batch, 10, 12 minutes or something like that. And then I put that back up there and do the folds, scrape it down, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's all the mixing it gets.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Super passive.
Have you heard of Jim Leahy?
Yeah.
And his
That's-
bread? I was gonna say like because I keep on talking about this whole mixing thing too, and I also getting back to there's 100 ways to skin a cat with dough.
Yeah.
You can go, and it's so against everything what I was just saying, but you can go the other direction with gluten ferment or with gluten development. You can do it with time instead of mixing.
Yes.
You hear of mixing a lot because it works in a production facility a lot of the time, like with what I'm doing. But if you have the time, you can let gluten develop on its own. You don't have to fucking do anything.
Yeah.
And that's what his whole kind of like process is about, of like, just mix it together, let it sit in a bowl overnight, and then pop that out, shape it into a loaf, and bake it.
Yeah.
And you are still going to end up with fantastic bread.
Yeah.
And it requires far less work than flour, water, salt, yeast, tartine, any other of these methods, and produces really amazing bread. And so, like, being a really good baker, I think, is like taking all these different methods that we know work and just applying it to your process. Like, fuck, my mixer broke down. It's running backwards. I'm not going to get gluten development out of my mixer. How else can I get it? I can get it through time. I can get it through tightening the structure with cold. I can get it through, those are the two big ones that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's other ways too. Like, I'm fucking Chorley wood process uses fucking dough additives to make that kind of shit happen.
Yeah,
So
man.
there's tons of ways to make similar things happen with dough. Getting back to the idea of process is probably more important than anything else when it comes to bread baking.
Agreed.
I heard a baker kind of describe it this way once, where as the amount of ingredients you have goes up, not like the quantity of them, but the amount of ingredients on your list goes up in a dough-like recipe, batter, bread, whatever the fuck it is, flour and water, homogeneous mix. The less important your process becomes, and more important does the ratio of those ingredients becomes. And this becomes very evident when you start getting into cake making and cookies and all of this other shit, where, yeah, you do a lot more straight doughs with those, like we were talking about before, because the process of folds and all this shit becomes much more obsolete with cakes and shit. I mean, especially when it comes to, the hydration levels on these things, but we're also adding sugar, we're adding things that are going to go against our leavening. We're also putting in baking soda, which is a completely different type of leavening action. And so the amounts of those things become more important on that function of baking than bread does with the process and stuff. Not to say that there is no level of importance in process and cake making or anything, but I would say that its process is much, much, much more important when it comes to bread making than cakes.
Those straight doughs and sweet products like cakes and things, they're formulaic as opposed to process driven.
To me, those are more science than bread.
Absolutely, they're formulaic.
When people talk about that whole bread,
formula,
bread science versus cooking, it's like, no, that applies to me much more when it comes to like cakes and shit. I don't fucking get cakes that much. Like I've made many in my time, but yeah, it's a different beast to me, even though it's still baking.
And for me, being more of a cook, I do, technically I bake bread every fucking day too. When it comes to those things like cakes and cookies and things like that, I'm like, here's your formula. Fuck you. I'm putting it all in there. Is it done?
Mix it up.
Tastes good.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to add this, then add this, and do this. I'm like, I'm gonna cream the fat and the fucking sugar first. I know that part. I'm in there. I'm not gonna mix it too much.
Take my wets, take my dries, mix those together. Put the wets with the dries, mix, spit it.
Yeah, I don't even know half of that shit. I went to baking class. I was like, hey chef, I'm just gonna put it all in here, mix it up, and it looks like everybody else's tastes great too.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Well, that one, the sugar broke out the side. That one did. I'll eat that one. Like I'm not gonna eat one anyway. So yeah, I throw it all in the fucking mixer and it comes out.
Chill.
You got the fire? Yeah. I go at it baking as I do more of the process than the formulaic stuff. I have all the ingredients; they're all going to get in there. Am I going to add them in a certain thing? I mean, I know the process. It's going to come out, and it's going to be a nice baked cake or cookie afterwards. Is it going to be awesome? If I would have done it a different way, is it going to be different? That comes back to that. The Tessa Hart book. I did it this way this time. Next time, I'll do it this way. So it is what it is. Yeah, the formula over process. I'm a process guy.
Yeah.
What is that? A jazz cigarette?
The devil's lettuce.
Yeah, man.
I'm still laughing at Slurricane.
I can dig it, man. Yeah, there were some fancy names. Did you get into the chicken and waffles?
Not yet. I'm saving that one.
Yeah, maybe save it. Do your thing. Make sure you're in a very comfortable space. I guess. I don't know.
Editing this podcast later. That's.
I can dig it, man. Yeah, it sounds like you're on a great path, man. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you speak very eloquently about your craft too, and
Thank you.
executing it.
I don't think I do, honestly. I feel like I'm like really fucking schizophrenic when I talk about bread baking and become like really like I'm always like scared I'm gonna become because like when I was a painter I was like really fucking what is that term? Like when you're like, oh, I'm fucking better than everybody else. Like I get it. I'm clever. Like everybody else fucking doesn't know what they're doing. Like I'm scared always with bread baking that I'm gonna get like back into that mentality. Mm-hmm. I think I'm generally okay because I'm kind of scared. Not scared, but I'm mindful of getting back into that kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. It's definitely like a younger, piss and vinegar sort of attitude, I guess.
You're aware of it.
I try to be very aware of that, but yeah, I feel like when I talk about bread, sometimes I can kind of rant and get a little schizo.
I mean,
So
it's
I
been
appreciate-
done.
I appreciate
It's been
that.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it was very eloquent, and
Thank you.
you know, I understand what you're doing. You know, I may not understand all the, you know, minutia of fucking the bread, but you know, the process
I mean,
and
you
getting
get
to the
it.
end
You
point.
get it.
Yeah,
You
you
definitely
know,
get it.
I mean, I work with you know, certain products that are similar, and this is the result I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
if it comes out, then
I love pizza because
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, you guys like are the perfect blend of like cooking culture and bread culture in one. Like you
Mm-hmm.
take both skills from them and like you can understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
For a food that like everybody loves.
Yeah, right.
I literally don't trust somebody that doesn't like pizza. I've never met anybody that doesn't like pizza, but I'd be like wary of somebody who doesn't, I guess. Unless I like was pretty aware that they like, you know, had like, you know, like safe foods and shit or whatever, whereas like, you know, there's not picky necessarily, but like shit just didn't like fucking agree with them on
Yeah.
like a texture level. I know quite a few people like that, but all those people I know like pizza.
I would say, yeah,
You know,
it's,
picky
pizza-
people I know like
right,
pizza.
yeah.
Kids like pizza.
Yeah.
They're the pickiest and most criticizing motherfuckers out there.
Yeah, it's pretty well liked.
Yeah.
I was reading something recently talking about a guy who what do you do now? You go into a restaurant, like overhaul, like a consultant type thing, or like not bar rescue. You know, people would hire. It was a consultant. People would come in and help him fix their pizza restaurant. And he said he'd go in there.
TV show?
No, it was probably online, but it was a fucking article or something like that. This guy was like, you know, I go in there and pizza place is struggling, fire the guy, and I don't hire a pizza guy. I hire a baker. He could never have made fucking pizza in his life. You want to go fucking dough? Hire a baker.
Yeah.
He'll figure the pizza part out of it.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have great fucking dough.
Yeah.
The fucking making and baking of it, that's gonna be in his wheelhouse. It may be a different shape, of maybe a different process, but the mixing and getting all that dough together, that's the guy you want. And I was like, that is a fucking, I
Yeah.
like that. You know, I never considered myself a baker, and then
Most pizza guys don't.
Yeah, I was
Most
talking
pizza guys
to-
I've ever met. They're like, I don't fucking know anything about bacon. I'm like, dude, you do. Like, if you like can talk about like your pizza dough,
Exactly.
like you're a fucking baker. Like it's all the same skill sets as far as like if you're making the dough. Like I was telling Mark that was here. I was like, if you any pizza dough is gonna make amazing bread dough, and any amazing bread dough is gonna make great pizza dough.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
there's pizza
Every
recipes in
single
a
time.
tartine book. It's
Yeah.
like, we'll take the same thing and turn it into a pizza.
Yeah, I actually did it today for the first time. I was like, you know what? I've never taken my sourdough and made it into a pizza. So I asked the guys at Bunny's. I was like, hey, will you take this and just make it into
Pizza,
pizza? I
yeah.
just want to see how it tastes and works. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
And it didn't taste like my fucking loaves. It
Yeah.
had a different flavor and quality to it. So, yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
We were talking about UPN and Anthony Mangiarotti. You know, pizza guy gets all the accolades, and I was watching an interview with him. You know, one of the first ones he did, and he kept saying, you know, I bake pizza. You know, what do? I bake pizza. I bake pizza. It's not, I'm not a make pizza. I'm not a pizza maker. You know, I bake pizza. And it stuck with me. I was like, you're a baker.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't make fucking baguettes and cakes and fucking cookies and everything like that. He makes pizza. I bake pizza. I was like, you're a baker. It fucking clicked. And then hearing this guy, I fired a pizza guy and I hired a baker. I was like, and it all came together for me
Yeah.
in that place.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Bread's a beautiful thing, man. You know, making it at home and doing the whole fucking, you know, Dutch oven in the fucking oven and burning yourself 1,000 times from it because it's fucking hard to handle.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get all the things, yeah.
All the fucking
That
oven
loaf of
squares.
bread that comes out that never gets refrigerated, that sits on the counter all fucking week, like you said, 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, when you
You
cut
don't
it,
gotta fridge it. It gets worse when you fridge it too.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
they call it in baking, they call it the retarder for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, don't put your bread in it. You know, you get this 4-pound bowl, cut it in half, cut side down. You know, and then that half you cut in half, the cut side down, whatever cut side it up. When you cut from it, turn the other side, and that bread is going to be awesome bread all fucking week. It should last 5 to 7 fucking days on the counter. You're going to eat it before that.
Right.
Because you're going to see it and be like, you know what? The butter's right next to it. I'm going to have another one. This one has a little jam and salt. Ooh, that's delicious too. It's not going to last 7 days.
Yeah.
But it will last without spoiling or staling. And the inside of it, the crust is going to be, you know, nice, bien cuit. The inside, still super soft and almost, it's not going to dry out. It's going to be moist.
Yeah.
You know? It's gonna have that spongy fucking cool texture on the inside and be fucking delicious for a week.
Yeah.
You know, and there's plenty of videos, people you could try it at home. If you need any help, you call Aaron. You
Please.
can call me too, but I'll tell you to call him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You can always hit me up with baking questions.
Yeah.
It's a text to say hi.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
I could dig it, man. And people find you on Sundays down at the Bunnies, slinging
Yep.
the wares.
Sundays at Bunnies, downtown, or Old Town Ridgefield, I think is what it's
Down
called.
Old Town.
Pioneer, right next to the Wildlife Refuge, 11 a.m. to
Yeah.
3 p.m. Yeah, go on Instagram, Lake River Baking, follow me there. We got new stuff happening all the time, always trying to grow and change and just kind of figure out how we can serve humanity better day by day and make bread at the same
Yeah.
time.
You could do both things.
To do both things.
are possible. Yeah, in the future, maybe some CSB, maybe some brick
Yeah.
and mortars.
Yeah.
Next thing, we'll do the same thing we do every day. Take over the world.
Yes, sir.
Right on. That was a great talk.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
man.
This is fucking
Cool.
beautiful. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
What you see is what you get. It's what you get. What you see is what you get. It's what you get.